right, welcome everyone to tonight's Skeptic and Ranting. Human evolution theory exposed?
Uh-oh.
That's right, where we are watching a video tonight called Human Evolution Theory Exposed. Destroying evolution.
We're done. We're
With
done.
their own words. Done. Shut it down.
It's over.
From
God
the
won.
channel Young Earth Creation. So won't you join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, for some fun worth evolving into? Woo-hoo! I want to thank everyone out there for joining us on the intertubes. That is right. I would also like to ask everyone, if you enjoy the show, to please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe.
Thanks,
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
guys.
Because then you gain access to that bell icon, which when hit to all will send you links to see our premieres, like our Ask Me Anythings, which we will be doing another one in the week or so to follow. So look forward to that. Send your questions in or join us on that live stream. We are a skeptic channel, including the two schmucks that you see before you, admittedly. However, after our opening statements and the opposing view, we will be opening up the open mics for anyone atheist or theist, liberal or conservative. Come as you
Sane
are,
or
just
insane.
in the membrane. Just not on my sheets. Please, not on the flag. Work so hard to be a NASA shill, and then you're just going to do that. But yes, this
Thanks, Daddy
housekeeping. Woo, send in love. In fact, everyone out there, send in love to Mary, God equals the square root of -1, Regos, Ian, Bubblegum Gun, Sunflower, all of you out there. Mwah. But this housekeeping,
Bubblegum asked a
is
good
going to have a
question.
little.
For once in his life, he's asked a good question there.
Which is, how did you get the emoji in your name? Oh, that is a fantastic question. In fact, this housekeeping is sponsored by two groups, our Patreons and our channel members, in which they gain access to a whole bunch of special features, including emojis and badges right next to your name.
We don't need those stinking badges. Yeah, you do. You do need badges.
And they evolve.
They're fun. Yeah.
And I will say, and funny enough, send in love to Regos, I have to get the badge system up on Twitch. Because not only can you have badges on Twitch, you can have something called Flair. You can get tier 1 Flair and tier 2 Flair, which I need to also get set up.
Amy,
I think I
we need to talk about your Flair.
So much Flair, exactly. The amount of Flair. But sending so much love out there to all of our channel members who can be found in the description below, and our Patreon, who can be found at patreon.com/Amy Newman, including awesome Patreons like Oz from the Tang Gang, yo, the Atheist Network Group.
Oz has 37 pieces of Flair on.
That's about the right amount of Flair.
You only have 17. What do you think, Jamie?
I need to up my flare game. That's what it means. I need to become very flareable. But sending love to Oz.
Thanks, Oz.
Who you can see at youtube.com/the Atheist Network Group, and you should look at all the fantastic better content, the convention that just took place, because, well, us secular non-believers, atheists,
huge success,
even, yeah, we sometimes do it #better. It's the only thing that I really like from the religious community is community. Because, I could do without the schisming. But sending love to Oz and sending love to Ian Davenport. Woo-hoo!
Thanks, Ian.
Sending love, Ian. And, this is the focus of tonight. We're really looking at creationist arguments. But James, it looks like a watch. Doesn't it look like a watch? Basically the same thing.
Sort of,
But sending love, Ian. I saw him out earlier. Woohoo! And also sending love to a grumpy old Cuss who reminds us that when we hear these creationist arguments, and can I tell you what it is? What they really got going is just got to have confidence. You could say absolutely fucking things, but if you can say it with just a sheer amount of chutzpah behind it, apparently people will believe you.
They're more likely to believe a big lie than a small lie, right?
Exactly. Well,
didn't somebody say that once? Guy with a funny mustache, or so they tell us.
Exactly. A little bit of Odwin's Law, but sending so much love to a grumpy old Cuss, and they also like to try and prescribe him to us when he was at least a theist in some form. Evolution is a pretty big lie.
He certainly wasn't a skeptic.
Well, he was a professed Christian and might have been a Norsish type of theist.
Types of strains of the occult type practices,
Indeed.
Not what you would typically call an atheist, but.
And a lie I would just want to put on the table is deceit. It has to be baked into it. It just can't be that you're wrong, because the difference between being wrong and being right is just the factual nature of reality. When you are professing a wrong belief, it feels like you're right because you're using all the available evidence to you.
Listen, they are not going to let the facts and reality get in the way of their willful delusion.
And hey, I'll bring this up. See, this is my bread and butter, because I swear, because it's a confusion of what I think they're saying. So Sunflower says that sounds strikingly familiar to the way the LGBT community says things like men can get pregnant, some men can menstruate. Is that all confidence too? Or no, I would say that's just a sociological viewpoint. What they're saying is a transgender man who was born a biological woman can menstruate and get pregnant. But they're not saying that, boom, a chromosome has changed and this changes how... I think I think everyone knows that. I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong.
Why is it something they spend so much time worried about, though?
Well, and I'll tell you why. Because that is when they want to attack evolution, they want to try and give, in my view, themselves credibility. They say, well, how can you believe in science? You believe men can have babies. But that's not really, they're not really saying that, boom, they transition and that's how the new system. Yeah, everyone knows home. And no, and so, and this will be my last point on it, because then we'll go back into it. We can go back into it later if you want, but I like to stay on topic as much as I can.
Yeah, we could go all night on that.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is, I'll even call it out here. It's identity politics, and I dip. I can ebb and flow into identity politics when you need to, but I like the bigger subjects. Well, I think that theology and counter-apologetics is more important. And hey, I'm sending love out there to you, Sunflower. We want to at least address the concerns, and I hear it often from conservatives that we could maybe win over if we just explain it. So, because the wrong thing to do is to get emotional, which I can understand why my sometimes brothers and sisters do. But you know, yeah. Well, politics is opinions. I'm going to keep on. I'll always say that. I'll always say when you ask, oh God, I'm trying to remember the actor from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Charlie Day. They asked him like what his view on politics is, and he said, I'm against it. But I would say that they mean it in a specific context. They are trying to, I hate to say they mean well when you hear liberals say that, and sociologists say that. They mean it in a specific context.
When they say, and they don't mean
that a man can get pregnant. They're not saying that a chromosome. They're not saying that. I mean, I often the soundbite they always want. They always like put the phone and they're like, "What's a woman?" And I'm always very quick to say one of the two sexes in plants and animals, because I could do nuance all day. I am intersex, so I could give as much nuance as possible. But I like to say plants and animals. I like to give that definition because it shows that sex is actually deeper and it's actually an evolved trait. And not only that, it shows that sex doesn't need consciousness, that it's actually detached. And so
even in species that aren't dimorphic, like trees.
Exactly. I mean,
they're
all
physically look the same, right?
Acorn and bees. And so I'll just put all that out there. Which
regardless of the exterior,
weird as quantum mechanics. And so Sinister saying which plants and animals, and yeah, and so once again, and so I'll also accept that you could still have different. You can have nuance, and I would also say weird as biology is weird as quantum mechanics. And yeah, and I'll also say that fungi and bacteria have thousands of different sexes because of how they work.
If that even means anything in terms of, in their concept.
And it's not even, I'm not even talking genders. They have mating types, which are the precursor to what we call species. That is actually how species evolved, from mating types. And so I'll use that to link us back into sending love to a grumpy old Cuss.
We can talk
sending
about
love
that in
to
the open mic. If
yeah.
someone wants to
Well,
go into it.
exactly. And keep on, if you tag me or James W. directly
Hold those
at
thoughts
Amy
till
Newman,
the end.
then I will. I'll keep on bringing it up. But sending love, but also sending love to Pat. Pat Lowinger,
Hey, Pat.
the lovely, fabulous, and amazing. Sending love, Pat.
Still over in the UK.
Because Pat is an actual academic, and so he does actual field research, which is what I wish creationists would do. Ever. But sending love to Pat, who has done many fantastic episodes. Take a sip here with us. Many fantastic episodes of Talk Skeptic.
If you remind me later, Sunflower, I'll address that in the open mic. I just don't want to derail our broadcast already. But
and I will say, I feel like that's used as a fighting head. Like, we are trying to talk about evolution. And so what the dig is, oh, you guys believe in science? What about this political opinion?
Yeah.
And see, I almost believe that's the tactic. I'm not saying that you're doing that purposely. I'm just saying that
gender politics versus something that is basically a verifiable scientific fact.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost, we have sociology over here, which is things that absolutely have to take in human feelings when you're dealing with humans. And then how things speciate in the long term.
Yeah.
That's not very skeptical of y'all. What's not very skeptical of y'all?
Oh, this is coming from Bubblegum Gun.
But see, exactly. I know I'm taking it.
He's just trying to go.
But see, I swear that is the attack is that you accept and treat transgender people as decent human beings, and so how or why should we accept evolution? But evolution is a theory, a framework of facts. It's different than how someone feels as being masculine or feminine, which I would say is a subjective thing. Because I would push back and say, I'm okay with saying, look, okay, dresses aren't feminine. Or if you want to detach that from feminine, I think that we see that as feminine. But then you have to allow men to wear dresses and normalize that, because you're saying it's not feminine. Therefore, men should be able to wear makeup and dresses, and it should be normalized, and just get real egalitarian with it. Because I don't know. You're saying it doesn't exist.
No, I wasn't addressing your point, Sunflower. I was evolution. The theory of evolution is a scientifically verifiable fact. You can't scientifically say God doesn't exist. That's outside the realm of science. You can't use science to do that.
And also, sending love. Oh, actually, before we do that, sending love to Pat, who you should find at youtube.com/biddybuddha_, where you can learn some shit. Sending so much love. And also to Dale Pastel. Because you know what the real opposition is? It's not gender versus anything. It's creationism. It is, I want to know how a goat forms. That is what I want to know. It is the consistent thing. Dale Pastel, James, myself want to know how God formed goat. Because evolution explains how a goat forms. They will say, well, it doesn't explain how the very first cells abiogenesis, but that's not what evolution is trying to explain. Evolution is trying to explain, and does explain, the diversity of life. Evolution can get you from single-celled organisms to the goat. I don't understand how you get there with the God model, except for poof.
Magic. Yeah.
If you believe in magic. But sending love to Dale Pastel, sending love to Dave Gar, reminding us the Earth is a little bit thick. A little bit chunk. And we're okay with that. We don't body shame here. So sending love to Dave Gar, who reminds us many of those books, those little bit of, good books, and even the ones that cut the moon in half, think that the Earth was flat.
The Earth's not flat?
What? Uh-oh. Soros says shut it down. But also sending love to Regos, reminding us that we have a Skeptic Bible study coming up, probably, in fact, in the next few days or so, because we are in
try to get back to one of those.
Deuteronomy. Going bowling with a skull. And,
Isn't that what atheists normally do, though?
Exactly. Well, we have to throw a baby into a volcano, I believe, once a month. That is how
I think so.
Yes, how we...
George Soros loves it. He can't get enough of it.
It's the only way that you are able to stay into the atheist inner circle.
That's true.
Fairly sure. But sending love to Richo, sending love to Scott Duke, the lead hyena of the pack, reminding us that, other animals, once again, not poofed into your reality just for you. Oh, my lordy.
And Regis made a really good point. That is to say that you can't use hard science to say there's no God, but we can evaluate claims that theists make with science. And that's what we're doing. You can't scientifically say there is no God because he has been carefully constructed to be unfalsifiable, right? So you can't falsify him with science because his properties are intrinsically designed to prevent that, right? And but we can evaluate claims like creationism, a global flood, things like that we can evaluate with science.
Yes, if God actually interacted in the real world, we should be able to test it.
Right.
But he seems to be playing hide and seek, or she, or they. But sending love to Regis and sending love. They say, hey, I always say the way you want to make a religious person postmodern, just ask them what gender God is.
Well, you can do that, Sunflower, and you're entitled to your opinion on that. I mean, that's an issue of politics and sociology, and I don't think you're entitled to your opinion.
I think it's just two separate things, because it's not saying that trans women are changing
biological
their chromosome.
Women.
It's saying that my question to you, Sunflower, do you think in Western society is there two buckets? Like, when we have to go out there, like, is it just male and female? Because it would just be so hard to, I don't know. You have to, I feel feminine, and yet I was born with one set of genitals. But I don't want to like. I'm not trying to have a Marxist revolution. Well, first of all, funny enough, Marx doesn't talk that much about gender and all this shit. I'm for a market economy and all this stuff. See, we can keep on getting dragged into politics. Though I love you, Sunflower, and all that. Oh my goddess.
Yeah.
Keep on seeing, but
he's sucking you in.
But I swear that's the tactic. Though I think someone was saying, I think Bubble was saying that Sunflower is a theistic evolutionist. In which case, I find that interesting.
I've never heard him take a firm position on it.
Firm position either way.
Yeah. I understand the idea, the concept that until maybe 8-10 years ago, everybody used the term gender and sex totally synonymously, interchangeably, and now people are saying no, they're actually not always the same. They're not always interchangeable, and people are having difficulty with that. And that I can understand why that would be a change. That's a different way of looking at it than people have looked at it, than the mainstream looked at it before. But 100 years from now, they will look at it exactly like everybody will be woke then, and this rigid male, female, you're born with one set of genitals, that's all you are. Nobody will think like that anymore.
And one day, if I do have children, I would like to raise children. I think my goal would be not to raise them as atheists, but to teach them all of the religions. And I feel like if I have taught them all the religions and they have suddenly decided that one of them has more evidence than the other, okay. I mean, that's on them. They are individuals. However, I think that when you showcase that, it's clear that they're all mythology. So I'm just going to put that on the table. We keep on moving forward with sending love to everyone out there, all our atheist and theist brothers and sisters. Sponsored by Sugar Salty Water. And also sending love to the lovely, the fabulous, and fantastic, and so amazing Rachel Woohoo! Who is reminding us that a good book would never have us take slaves from the nations around us. That would be terrible, horrible, objectively wrong, and I always love how it's just the Old Testament, as if he went through like a teenage stage. He got therapy. And then
people woke up. They said, "Whoa! That sounds really harsh. That sounds really. Our God sounds like a dick. Who would want to worship that? Who? Why would anybody want to worship that? I mean."
Exactly. So they have to do this like Stockholm syndrome thing where it's like, well, he loves us. He's burning everyone else, but he totally loves us.
As long as we do this whole laundry list of commandments and we don't worship other gods, we do everything he wants, and
we get on our knees. What were we talking about?
Or we surrender our mental sovereignty and accept things as true that we don't have any reason to think are true. We just accept it anyway. Out of fear, mostly, of what he'll do to us if we don't.
Mostly out of fear. Mostly the celestial dictator in the sky.
Because he loves you, but if you don't want to worship him, he will kill you, and then he will do mean things to you after you're dead.
Because he loves you. Well, James, his lackey will do mean things. Well, technically the guy who rebelled against him, but somehow he's doing exactly what God wants.
Yeah.
Don't look into the details. Praise Jesus.
Just keep praising.
Stay on your knees. Sending love. Also sending love to Senator Cato. Boom, 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 boom. Reminding us that the separation of secular, separation of church and state, as important now as it is ever. Because it's not going to be your version of your religion in control.
Probably.
So just go once, and secularism is not atheism. Oh, no, we don't want state-enforced atheism.
It's more neutrality.
We want neutrality. Exactly. So sending love, Rachel, sending love, Senator Cato, and sending love, James Wolfe.
Exactly, X Music, exactly. And that's what I like to call moral relativism.
Slavery, I expect them to promote hand sanitizer. Indeed. I mean, all of these texts show that they are the goat herder's guide to the galaxy, which is fair. I mean, we're not blaming them for that. That's what you expect. It really does also look like a universe that comes from natural laws that is just chaotic and following physics. But I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I don't want to sit on a high horse and say that because people in biblical times endorsed slavery, therefore they're bad people because they took a position that we would today look at as bad. Fact is, like 90% of people throughout history never recognized that slavery was wrong until it became a non-economic necessity. And once it was no longer a necessity, we looked at it and said, whoa, that's pretty bad. Why are we doing that? But nobody questioned it for so long before that because it was just always part of society.
And it's not about blaming people back in the day. What is something? Some would even say he's best in the show. It's not about blaming our ancestors. They are the reason that we are here. It's that the book looks like it was formed from people who didn't know a whole bunch of shit. And so when you say it's the most perfect book ever...
That's it.
No, it's not. And it shows its seams everywhere. And we will see that. We will see that today. This video is a good mix. It's a front half insulting science, back half trying to push religion. Good old like chocolate milk. Just got to stir it up and you get your good old anti-science and religion.
Well, and I've said before, I think it'll be the same exact thing will happen to us when humanity progresses to a time where we don't need to eat animals anymore. They will look back and say, oh my gosh, how could they have eaten animals? Because we could voluntarily simply choose not to. We could adopt a vegetarian or vegan diet and we would survive.
I agree. I think that's going to just because of these. It doesn't matter how slow you progress towards something. I think those sort of positions, I think the veganism position will eventually dominate, either because of moral reasons, or I still stand by what I think is going to be market reasons, is that slowly but surely lab-grown meat one day will just dominate, and then eventually there won't be any... Yeah, it'll be...
The inherent cruelty. Like, yes. Oh, you guys can get lab-grown meat. Why would you want to eat meat that is farmed with cruel methods and involves suffering?
And the people, the people in control, if it's cheaper, will just replace it. And the normies will have no choice. And so, like I said, the positions will just naturally change and move towards it. That's my prediction.
They'll sell it with the morality.
Exactly.
Like, oh, this is better. This is better for...
And
not cruel.
You won't know any different. The people who get raised on it won't know any. And so yes. But yes, sending love out there. Also to James Wolfe, reminding us that we do really late night podcasts.
That's our niche.
Though we're moving, and I want to continue to do some more like midday and just regular nighttime streams. But sending love out there to James Wolfe, sending love.
There you go, Bubble. Once again, you say just the most amazing things, because evolution is not synonymous with atheism. There are millions and millions of theists who accept evolution. So evolution is not state-enforced atheism. It's biology. It's reality.
The reason why evolution comes in conflict with religion is because religion has no explanation for how animals came about. Like Bubble, please fill out my challenge. How do you form a goat? Like, was there no goat and then there was just goat? It just goes zero to goat? Boom. Like, help me out here. Because with evolution, I can explain how a goat came to be. In every step. I don't understand, except for the fact that this is science versus religion, down to its fundamental, classic debate format. So sending love, James Wolfe, and last but certainly not least, sending love to the galaxy in your hand. I really want to understand in a 6,000-year-old Earth how you form a freaking galaxy. Please tell me.
Oh, well. God just said poof, galaxy here, poof, dark matter, poof, regular matter. Maybe throw a star or two over here, a quasar there.
Yeah, well,
asteroid here, black hole over there.
Everything happened at once. Literally, it was just, or let me not straw man them. Maybe over like 6 days. Wow.
Which is basically all at once.
Yeah, basically all at once.
Which is what they're gonna say. Oh yeah, Homo erectus, Homo ergaster, Homo heidelbergensis.
I will say, I do have to say,
all just live together.
And I will give the creationist a single super artificial point, which is, all right, fine. The words Homo erectus is pretty funny, I will say. Though that combination is a pretty good combination of words.
Perfectly designed,
Exactly. I'm Homo erectus, depending on different the time of day. But sending love out there to all of our channel members, to all of our Patreons, to all of our mods, to all of our the people in chat, and of course viewers like you who make this channel even possible. We are about to break into the opposing view. Whoever said the chicken is a trans T-Rex makes a cock out of you. Oh my, that's right. Well, I do consider myself a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So it does happen. But yes, we are about to get into the opposing view.
Bird.
That's right, part dinosaur, in which we are going to talk about human evolution theory exposed. Oh my, that's right, destroying evolution with their own words. Oh my god, I always like when they say evolutionists.
This is the story of a girl. SFT's sidekick, Raw Matt, Young Earth Creation, the channel. SFT just hit 10,000 subscribers, so woohoo for SFT, right? I'll be on the channel, not next week. I don't have a confirmed date. I'd reschedule because of work obligations, but I am going to be debating Ken Hovind on human evolution. Probably not next week, probably the week after. I just gotta get a confirmed date on that. And Mark Reid is going to be debating Ken Hovind next week, I believe Tuesday, and we do plan on covering that as an after show. So,
hells yeah! And
Kent better get ready for that debate because out with the shenanigans he pulled last debate, he
a little bit of Hovind, a little bit of 15. But did you know that whales have a 15-foot whale? Okay. Anyway.
Thanks, Dale.
Woo-hoo, that's right. And all right. Shoopa-da-whoopa-whoop-whoop. With that, we are going to break into the opposing viewpoint, human evolution theory exposed. Let's have some fun. And there are multiple times that I need to break things down in here because the silliness is
there's a lot of silliness here
to break down. But apparently we have Batmobile here ready and handy.
Mr.
Hey
Batman.
everyone, welcome to my channel. Feel free to become members if you so desire.
If you so desire.
Today we are going to be talking about human evolution, the much anticipated book.
Oh, and I just this picture, big triggering point.
Yeah, they don't like
big triggering point. Oh, and you know what? Oh my goddess. I just realized. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We're 26 seconds in. I just realized I didn't do
prepared remarks.
I did. I'm wondering if I should do it before we open mic, or should we? You know what? It's quick. Forgive me, lasses and ladies. All right. Oh, the humanity. Okay. I'm trying to think. Maybe we'll do a thing in between. No. What do you think, James?
A thing in, what do you mean?
Should I do it now, or should I do it at the end? Should I do it in between?
Whatever you want to do. It really doesn't matter.
All right. I'm just gonna do it really quickly.
Go ahead.
Da 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 da. Ladies and gentlemen, human evolution theory exposed? Oh my. Well, we would have to let the scientific community know, since evolution is currently the backbone of modern biology. In fact, we have to use evolution to form vaccines so that we can beat the evolution-based mechanism that caused the virus to, well, evolve. And that's because a theory in science is a framework of facts. Simply that populations of genes randomly mutate, and that the environment naturally selects for them. But even for humans? Because that's what triggers young Earth creationists the most? Time. Because it turns out humans have been here for 100 to 200,000 years. Apes, as a group, come on the scene, that's what she or he said, 55 million years ago. And the majority of dinosaurs were wiped out 10 million years before that. That's around when we as mammals got our niche. So when I hear human evolution theory exposed, more like creationist wet dreams. The genetics behind human evolution is well known. Our place among the animal kingdom is something to be celebrated, not feared. We are indeed a piece of the universe knowing itself. Dude, wow. With life being one of the greatest chemical reactions that we know. So let's not cheapen it with pseudo scientific nonsense. Thank you. And all right. With that,
let's just get right back into
right back into
I don't want to have anything to add at this point.
And all right, everyone. I feel better now. Got that off my chest. But we are going to... With that, we are going to break into the opposing viewpoint, or human evolution theory exposed. But if you want to tag James W. or myself at Amy Newman, keep on sending in your comments or questions, and
or just enjoy the video
up on stream. Oh, the amazement that we're going to see.
Is that Donnie? There he is. Hey, Donnie.
Welcome to my channel. Feel free to become members if you so desire. Today we are going to be talking about human evolution. The much anticipated book by Standing for Truth will be out soon, and I thought it would be fun to do an overview of the subject to get everyone interested. Today we have two kinds of people in the world. We have those with such good imaginations that
there is no God. I know because I went to community college. There is God. I know because I went to church. See how that works?
They really believe banana plants and whales.
There you go, ladies and
Look
gentlemen.
at that.
That's what we believe,
This is
right?
hard-hitting science. Hard-hitting science right here.
Sub Shane! Woohoo!
Reminds me of, what is it, the famous quote, evolution is like throwing a turkey leg into a pot of water, expecting a live turkey to come flying out, right?
It's basically what a biologist is saying.
Yeah, that's what biologists are teaching at every university across the planet.
Oh, did I get an answer? Hold on. I see you actually want to support that, Amy. Show me a goat evolving. Evolution is a religion, perhaps a cult at this point. I like that when they use the C word. I'm not sure if Bubblegum is a Christian, but I consider
He's a
just
pagan.
the Abrahamic religions a cult. So I just find that fun. Also, why is Bird still a mod? Because Bird is awesome. But so you want to support? So you didn't answer my question. This is what I mean when that question was like a politician, but it was not scientific. When I ask you, because I could tell you, watch this. How do you get to goat? So, okay, so you have single-celled organisms, and so they're going, and then you have this mitochondrial event, and so all of a sudden you have multicellular organisms, and then from plants you then have a reactionary thing. You now have fungus. You now have animals, because they're very similar, going in opposite directions. You then have very simple conscious creatures. They're getting more sophisticated, and then after a long period of time, you finally have mammals that have emotions along with just the data collection for consciousness. And so you finally get these more sophisticated organisms. Okay, go.
Meat machines.
Give me anything like that. Like anything like that.
Well, if you want to see a goat evolving, every time they have offspring, that's evolution, because they have certain mutations that every generation has.
And sunflower. This is what I mean by it's like, I'll show it. This is what I mean by its identity politics. Okay, you said men getting periods is pseudoscientific. So, are you saying that transgender men who were born women can't get pregnant or menstruate? Is that what you're saying? If not, then you're straw manning their position, and you actually know their position. So I'm just going to lay that on the table. Are you saying they can't menstruate and can't get pregnant? Is that what you're saying? Because I feel like I could easily demonstrate that to you, but we'll keep on. And nice storytelling, Bubblegum. I keep on saying, tell me your story now. Tell me the story. Get me to goat. How do you make a goat? Or just say I don't know. Just if you don't know how to make a goat, that's either an Amber Alert or
the George Soros alert.
Yes, Georgie. We actually have a weather flash flood warnings tonight.
National Weather Service. A flash flood warning is in effect for this area until 3:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. This is a dangerous.
Jesus, they're trying to take us down.
Do not attempt to travel unless you are.
That's okay. We're gonna stay in and take down. Banana
Maybe we should
boat
pray
here.
about it. I was just going to say that it all comes down to the fact that, and we get it, that you reject the idea that trans women are women, that trans men are men. And so since you reject that, then of course you're not going to think that women can or men can menstruate. But it just comes back to that the rejection of that principle.
And
we understand
they
you reject it. It's just
it's bait. It's bait because they and I love you, Sunflower. I love all my theist brothers and sisters. I love you, Bubblegum. But I mean, it's different. Politics is not evolution. Like, we're trying to talk about
science,
how animals diversified.
Menstruate, exactly.
Are related, and that man is just an ape.
Build it up.
Yes, they literally believe cladistics is scientific.
Oh, I love this, because my favorite thing about this is he's like Berkeley.
Berserkly.
Cladistics.
Calls it. Biology.
A method of classification of animals and plants according to the portion of measurable characteristics they have in common. It is soon a portion of characteristics two organisms share, the more recently they diverge from a common ancestor.
And this is what they get into trouble a lot. Well, I think they do it intentionally, but they obfuscate between Linnaean taxonomy and cladistics because there are subtle nuance and differences between the two. And I think they use that to kind of muddy the waters. I disabled all those alerts on my phone.
And all right, but yes, but we're already off to a bad start. He is attacking well-known taxonomy, and so yeah. Once again, it's going to be a lot of saying silly things confidently, but he's sure.
Scientific proof of that. This is the sad state of affairs, which have left us literally talking to walls.
All right, talking to walls. Here we go. Amy, I don't need to show how something was made to know that it was made. You really, if you're claiming that it was, I know that life naturally occurred. So how would you know that life was designed? All I need to provide is evidence that it was made. I want to know how a goat.
But you have provided no evidence of that. Zero. Nothing. You struck out.
Sunflower, can I ask you, do you believe your God is male? Do you believe that that is an accurate term for your deity? Would you be open to he, or maybe even Lord? I feel like Lord is kind of a masculine type of pronoun, unless you are
have sex
the
organs?
Lord, in which that's really Randy, who is just a great singer, Randy Marsh.
Oh, thanks so much, Ian.
Woohoo! Sending so much love, Ian Davenport, $5 super sticker.
We appreciate the support, Ian.
And he is sending a super sticker that is basically just sending a pipe that's going. So sending so much love, Ian. Thank you so much for the support. Woohoo! And it helps us counter this, which is, my lordy, these people want this taught as science, and they want science taken out of the science classroom.
You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself about.
Sunflower, we're not going to ban you. I just, like I said, if you don't, as long as you do not break the TOS, I just, it's funny. I have a dual emotion in that there's a piece of me that actually loves responding to it, that I actually kind of like am drawn to it. I get like a buzz. I'm excited to answer LGBTQ questions, but then at the same time, it is identity politics. It is politics based on identity, which I love. We should be proud of who we are, and yet it is character selection. It is it's just who we like in the mirror, but then you want to go out and do shit. You want to go and face life. You want to make video games. You want to write a sonnet. You want to go do something that has nothing to do with gender. But I will continue to ask, if you do not like the term male being used in that, I just want to know, does your God fit in that 1% that you're saying? That's what I really want to know. Good morning, Ralph. And good morning, Rob Head. What is up?
All the characters out
Big
tonight,
Screen Bird.
Hey,
Sending so much love. This was how Bird got forged. We're talking about the Ark event, Ark Gate.
We might as well just...
Oh, I didn't even notice. Hello, Penelope.
Oh,
Look!
I
can't look at that. I know. Right. Kitty on screen. And then
Penelope comes in.
do. Where's my baby girl? Yeah.
This reminds me of last stream. Remember when we had to zoom down into the guy's crotch to see the paper he was holding in his lap?
Oh my. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, James.
Yeah.
Just be talking to our cat most of the time. So I thought today we would try a new approach. Rather than just show them evidence that is on our side and explain.
I love this. Evidence for young Earth creation. Fast mutation rates. You can have fast and slow. Worldwide low genetic diversity. That is not true. Coral growth rates. What? Mechanic.
That show that reefs are hundreds of thousands of years old at minimum.
Biological evidence shows that there's evidence for young Earth creation, and I'd like to see some of that.
Genetic evidence? Nah. Geological evidence? Ha 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 ha.
Another one of these.
Linguistic evidence of the Tower of Babel? Really? Really? All languages originate from the Middle East? No. So many of these things just have give them no support one bit for young Earth creationism.
Why is dinosaur soft tissue? Well, dinosaur iron-rich blood combined with good environment for fossilization may explain the amazing existence of soft tissue from the Cretaceous, a period that lasted 65 to 145 million years ago.
And why the evidence best proves young Earth creation rather than evolution, let's show them out of their own books.
And I'm getting politician responses. Bubblegum. Enough with the QQ, more with the pew pew. It's the mods. The mods are why I can't explain why a goat formed. No, you can't explain why a goat formed because you don't have a model, because creationists never present a model. It is like the flat earth position. It is magic. Exactly. I am tired. It is not comparable. Not comparable. And I love you. Once again, I love you, Bubblegum. I love all my theists. But the old Earth creationists understand what's going on. They can understand their two buckets because evolution explains how animals came to be. I don't know what better way to put it. We could go through every stage. We could find every clad.
They were lied to. So let's begin, shall we?
Just put the Bible on that and then
let's begin. Oh, another thing that semi pisses me off is like most of the data that they try criticizing is from very recent articles, like 1970. And then what they do is they spend half this video like, ooh, look at all the new data. New data. New data. It's like, yeah, that's how science works. Do you understand what science is? Okay.
Well, then they, as Gutsy Gibbon pointed out in her latest video on these guys, she pointed out how they quote mine these scientific papers and take things out of context and just give you selected quotes that give a misleading about
Sunflower. I heart you. I can't see what the mods are doing, but I can see your comments, at least on my end. So give me your answer. Come one, come all. That's what he or she said. I want to know, do you use your God? Does he have a male he? Does he have a male pronoun? Do you use it like I just used it? Because if you like say, oh, my car, she's a beauty, then I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Then I think you guys do understand what we're talking about.
What if God came down and he said, since he's a Trinity, his pronouns are they, them? That would just throw them for a loop.
I would.
They, them.
Postmodern Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell me, Sunflower. I'm welcome to it. And once again, tell me, please, Bubblegum, or any young Earth creationist or anti-evolutionist, just tell me how to form a goat. Get me there.
One of the most popular March of Progress charts ever sold.
But yes,
exists
this really triggers them. This
They
map
hate
here.
it.
inside of it. More schools have this image hanging up than any other image regarding human evolution. But let's actually zoom in and
it's
read.
almost like they want science and not.
Let's zoom in. Let's go. Come on, Matt.
What the small print
Do it to
actually
me.
says. First, we come to Pliopithecus. You will notice it says, long considered to be an ancestral gibbons, the Pliopithecids are now known to be far removed from gibbons, or indeed any other living primates. So they admit that this doesn't even belong in the very chart.
It's still an ancestor, just far back.
Pliopithecus, meaning more ape, is a genus of extinct primates of the
It's a primate,
Miocene. So let's figure out here. They appear to have originated in Asia and extended their range into Europe between 20 and 70 million years ago. And humans are only 100 to 200,000 years old. So, yeah. Continue, but...
And it's the first step of this process, and it says underneath it that it's not true. Now, on to the next one, which is another supposed intermediary,
No, it doesn't.
which to them would now be the first step of man, which is proconsul. Well, they consider it a very early ape, an ancestor to the chimpanzee and perhaps the gorilla. So we have another pure ape, which they still can't.
So let's just point out that the term pure ape is purely stupid because we are pure apes. I don't even know what that means. Like, once again, they talk about how science is trying to build a narrative. Yes, it is. They're playing a linguistic game. They're trying to separate humans from other apes, but we are apes.
Like what they do with our human ancestors. They're going to look at it and say, okay, no, this one is all human or this one is all ape, even though they have features of both. Because it's a gradient. Go figure.
Bubblegum gun. It's clear you and other atheists are having a psychological meltdown
Losing the
or
debate.
breakdown
Jesus Christ.
because you guys are losing the debate. You see the writing on the wall for evolution. It's over. And I want everyone to remind, this is Bubblegum's Gun's answer to how do you make a goat? This is his answer.
That's it.
Right there,
Evolution is currently taught in every accredited university in the world. It's not losing. And 100 years from now, that'll be the same. It's taught in every academic institution that is worth anything. And it will remain so.
I think they're around 100 to 200,000. But maybe it depends on what genus of Homo sapien we're talking about. But I'm open. I'm always open to having my mind changed because that is the difference in science and religion. Yes, you change your mind. And for whatever reason, they find this as an insult. They find not changing your mind. Can't send any message. I can hear you. I can see this loud and clear. I can see all that. I love you. I'm trying to vie for you guys here. But I do want to point out so prawn skull mammal, an extant genus of primates that has existed from 21 to 14 million years ago.
Million.
Million. Yes. related to giving great apes, including humans, and held in our ancestral lineage. Look at that! The exact opposite of what he's about to say.
Cannot identify as to what species it even is. But yet, there it is, standing up, representing human-like bipedalism.
How much it's standing up.
That is strike 2. But let's move on. Next, we have Dryopithecus.
I am not only skipping. This is what I mean. Well, I only get triggered when you say that I'm doing you wrong, because I don't think you're going to get a fair shake. Stop giving me political answers. Give me a scientific one. How do you form a goat?
We read that after investigation of the skull, rather than evolving earlier than the great apes was as previously thought, it was actually just a great ape itself. A knowingly admitted lie.
It's an ape.
Here in front of your eyes. I give this strike 3 on proving any human evolutionary tree whatsoever. And we've only looked at 3. So literally, their entire first links of the chain are admitted.
Pretty sure Patrick Stewart is an evolutionist, but
so Dryopithecus is a genus of extant great apes. Oh, look at that from the middle late Mosaean boundary of Europe, 12.5 to 11.1 million years.
Huh.
Getting
closer, huh?
Getting closer. It's almost like they're have evolving. Common ancestry and they're evolving. Funny how that works. Just in case anyone wants to actually look.
To not be part of the chain in the small print underneath. That would be strike 3. Next, we have Oreopithecus. And this is hilarious because they start off by literally saying this is a side branch of the human family tree, meaning
Oreo.
It is not part of the March of Progress chart that it's on. And they are showing you it is part of the human lineage.
It's a branch on the tree.
Oh, look at that. It was clearly
a side branch.
Aberrant ape. Shocker, I know.
Yeah,
it's an ape. Also notice that it is standing upright and walking.
Yeah, I will say that is basically his entire argument. Each one, he goes, and it's an ape, and it's an ape.
Yeah,
It's like
we're not saying it's not an ape. There were no humans alive at the time.
James, oh my God, I see a. Oh my God. Somehow, I see 2 apes. They're on camera. They've managed to snuck on. I don't know how it happened.
Oh. Me? Are you calling me an ape?
How dare you? How dare you?
I mean,
yeah, they also love to
fame. But don't say that Ralph is an ape. Because
never. Are you calling my mother an ape? How dare you?
Trigger him.
Very.
No, it's a lie. That would be strike 4.
Also, I love this. He goes on to multiple strikes, but it's a rule of 3. If you're doing something, you go strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. Have you played baseball? Whatever. I guess he's trying to be like, there's so many strikes, but it just ruins the shtick. Whatever.
So we have Ramapithecus. This was thought to be a distinct genus. First direct ancestor of modern humans. Before it became regarded as that of the orangutan ancestor. Again, portrayed standing erect and walking. So strike 5.
We don't use the term direct ancestor. That's not
progress. That doesn't belong there.
That's not how it works. Ramifications.
The ramifications were brutal, in fact.
Oh, hey, we got Pasta Mike out there. Good to see you, Pasta.
What is up, Pasta Mike? We should be normalizing atheism. And I don't know if you know this, but I kind of love lamp. But yes, Sivapithecus, also known as Ramapithecus, is a genus of extinct ape.
Oh.
Fossil remains of animals now assigned to the genus dated from 12.2 million with an M years ago.
You're a monkey, Ralph.
But wait, but Ralph, once again, I hate to say this, but we have not shown a single monkey. Like, that's our point.
No.
We haven't shown a monkey. We've been showing apes, and we are apes. And apes share a common ancestor with monkeys.
There you go.
Strike 5.
Oh man,
No. Look,
That doesn't
do
belong.
you know what happens
Strike.
in this game? Not 5 strikes. Whatever. I don't even play sports. Like, it just offends me.
Whip out the hat.
I know. I can't help it. It's just, it offends me on a game level, on just like a game design
Strike 5.
level.
oh man,
Next, a famous one. Australopithecus africanus.
Ooh, dun, dun,
It tells
dun.
us they possessed the brain size of apes, had ape-like skulls.
I just want to point out that it says anus right here.
And was similar to body size and shape to apes. So if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, shaped like a duck, the size of a duck, then surely it's a duck.
So, Australopithecus africanus.
This is Lucy, by the way, in case you guys don't know.
And notice something. With each one, we get closer and closer to modern humans. Is an extant species of Australopithecus, which lived 3.6 million years ago in the middle Pliocene of South Africa. Once again, it's almost like he said, wow, this one is much closer to us. Wow, this one is much closer to us. I don't even know what to say. They do it to themselves, ladies and gentlemen. We're only this much silliness.
Right. Yet, there it is, an admitted ape
There it
species
is.
with the characteristics of an ape in the human family tree, portrayed walking just like humans. They don't even try to say anything about it being transitional or having any features of transitional because it's clearly an ape. But again, do you notice anything in the image?
It's
Is
an
that
ape.
really the
We're
truth
an
that they're
ape.
trying to sell you? No, it's not, and not.
I love this. First of all, and look, we all have edited pictures, but this is clearly like edited from paint, not Photoshop. But we have evolutionary fiction and inconvenient truths over here. Yeah.
Not even close. It was a primate.
I'd like to know what the inconvenient truths is. The Bible?
Nothing more. No transitional. Strike 6. Now we have Robustus. It states below in the fine print. He represents an evolutionary dead end in man's history.
They're all
What's going on the
transitional.
chart?
They are all
He's an admitted
transitional. All
dead
species.
end on the very chart itself, meaning not part of the human evolutionary march of progress chart that they're showing you. And yet there it is anyway.
Oh, my. Panthropus robustus is a species of robust, super robust, Australopithecine from the early and middle Pleistocene of the cradle of humankind of South Africa. Once again, you notice, closer, slowly but surely, about 2.27 to 0.087, more conservatively, 2 to 1 million years ago.
They know that nobody reads this fine print. But here is something most people don't know. They changed its name to Paranthropus robustus, and that's how it's known today. Do you know why? Because para means beside, and anthropus means man. So it means beside man, meaning not leading to modern day man.
Oh, my lordy. It
Not
means
only
much closer, but we are not 1 million years old, and thus still before us.
was it a different lineage, but an entirely different evolutionary branch than us.
It was a
There it is,
side branch.
part. leading from primitive primate ape ancestor to modern day man. Another lie. Strike 7. So now, let's look how far in we are.
Strike 7.
Notice that?
Strike 80
Halfway
billion.
through, and every
Oh, Matt, with
single
these
one
stock
is
photos
an
and
outright ape.
clips that he uses.
Nothing but a primate.
Yeah.
Nothing but pure lies.
And we're primates
admitted
still. We are
very
still
fine print
primates.
below
Yeah.
each and
And-
every.
We have never not been primates. Of course, all our ancestors would be primates.
And we always will be primates, even if we were to speciate. They really do not understand how evolution works.
One. And if that's not bad enough, if we open this poster and go to the far left, there's something written. And at the very bottom, we read, although proto-apes and apes walked on all fours, all are shown here standing for the purpose of comparison. Sure it is, everyone.
Except the one that's
They
walking on
want
its
you to
knuckles.
see them as human-like as possible because they know that pictures are worth 1,000 words. And they know nobody's going to read that small print. And it's going to look and appear
Why
as
would
though
they put it
apes
there?
became humans slowly
They
over
did.
time when it's
They
nothing
did,
but
indeed.
pure lies.
Not at all.
Once again, human and primate. Can you try and understand that he is putting primate? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, humans are primates. You need to show us how did humans come to be in your model? That's what I would like to see.
Why are we so similar to primates?
Here is why I call BS on this pathetic statement they made. One, we can clearly see that it's not true. If it was true,
No, we can't.
we would have all had straight parallel backs, like step
What
1.
I like is it actually very much is easy to follow. And you kind of have to work really hard to not understand it.
And they are
and
working
the final
really hard.
step being human. Yet, we see the third primate in the chain on all fours. And then the next ones slightly bent over less and less the farther you go down the chain, portraying that
Yes. They are showing in order the time frame that they evolved. This is also, I don't know how to tell you this because he gets really triggered later on in like I can't tell if it's one of those things where it's like it sounds really racist even though he's trying to make a I don't know, but I'll let you guys decide
they
that
hate
for
the
himself.
out of
But
Africa
these are
model.
drawings.
They hate that. Really triggers them. They hate
yes,
it
that
because
does seem to really trigger them.
They have to try to make everything come out of the Middle East, but that's not where human life came from.
Indeed.
they were getting better at standing upright. It has nothing to do with
It's
comparison.
not about being better.
If
It's
they wanted
about
to compare them, they would have
what they're
all had
designed
them
for.
doing the exact same pose. So that is another outright lie. Let's look
No.
closer at these features they show.
Can I take a second? Do we think, and this is hard because we're not psychologists, but when it comes to these sorts of people, it's hard to say they aren't lying a little bit. Like, I love all of our creationists.
Like, do
brothers
they
and
think this
sisters.
is good argumentation? Do they really think this is?
Well, it's hard to tell sometimes whether they, the Ken Hovens of the world, and he uses it, another spoiler alert, like the SpongeBob Imagination Land. And it's hard to tell whether they are, how much huckster juice they are selling.
how much of the Kool-Aid they themselves have drank.
Once again, don't want to put intentions in anyone's mouth. They could completely believe it. It's just, you have to work hard not to understand evolution.
And they do.
That's right. That is true. A real psychologist would be real careful. But we instead can say that when they use words like fable, that they're projecting. That's the only explanation that I can have, is because James and I really do believe that what they believe in is a fable.
Indeed.
Joe, notice the human is minimal in body hair, yet they start showing the two primates before him with less and less body hair, trying to swindle in as though they are slowly losing fur over time.
Do they really?
And we all know there is zero evidence for any of that.
Not true. I love that claim. Once again, there's an example of the silliness with confidence.
So, another lie. Then we see primate faces that begin to shrink away until all of a sudden we have modern day man. But notice the difference? Man has long hair on his head. No primate does, nor can grow it. Man has a long beard. Primates cannot grow a long beard either. Man has hands that are only found on humans, but they
So nobody's saying that humans don't have.
Do we really have to do this to our? I mean, they do this to themselves. Like, what are they talking about? Like, I really don't understand it. Like, did they not take a biology course? Or can I ask a better question? Did you not go to the zoo as a child? Like, I really don't understand this.
What? They can't have facial hair.
They can't have facial hair. They all look like this. Okay. I don't even know what to say anymore.
We want to try and show that primates doing things that only humans can do, like holding a club as a weapon. Lastly, you will notice that human feet are now placed on two of the primates before him on the chain. More visual lies. So these subtle visuals
all those are primates
out in the chart are a form of indoctrination to spread disinformation while underneath it telling you the truth, that these are just primates. And the physical evidence that we have doesn't portray what they tell you it does. These are all lies. We have many huge physiological differences between us and apes, but they want you to think that we are just kissing cousins.
We are apes. Like, I swear, this is like a drilled in thing that they're trying to...
Everything from our hair, our brain, our eyes, our lips, our tongues, our hearing, our visuals, our strength, our skin, our posture, our gut flora and digestion, our appendix, our muscles, the subcutaneous layer of fat that runs under our skin that apes don't have. The list goes on and on.
Yeah. That picture.
There is no evidence for God. There is no evidence for God. Put your hand.
Yeah, do the same thing and say there is no evidence for evolution. There is no evidence for evolution. That's basically what they're doing right here.
But that's the great thing, Ralph. This is your family album too. It's the theists. It's all of us. Woohoo!
Like it or not.
That runs under our skin that apes don't have. The list goes on and on. But they want you,
and they say that like it's an insult. But really, that's part of, every once in a while our housekeeping comments come up. It's like the Scott Duke comment, the look down on other animals. But other animals are amazing. Yeah,
they have to there's got to be a wall. Totally separate buckets.
You to think, and they want to portray to you that they are right next to us and that we popped right out from them along the chain of human evolution. Humans do not
millions of years.
We did not come from another species, and we will not speciate in the future.
Yeah.
How do you know that? How do you know that we won't speciate? If you took like 10,000 humans and put them on planet Mars, and they had no interaction with any other humans, give them 10,000, 20,000 years, and they would probably be a different subspecies. They would probably not be interfertile with humans on Earth.
And says in love, Ralph says, when I look in the mirror, I see a funny looking fellow with big ears, but not a monkey. And that's because we are apes, not monkeys. We share, just like Mark was saying, we are all share common ancestry with them. We're not too far removed, but Yeah. I mean, we're apes. It's not that. It's wonderful. It's actually something we should celebrate.
Now we get into humans, with no transitions whatsoever. First thing I want to point out is, look at this human that they have here. Do you notice something? Do you notice that he is not an African? Why is that? They believe...
Because you care about things like that.
That is a
an artist
black and white
rendition.
picture. How do you know whether what?
Yeah, that's true too. How do you know what?
I mean, it's just supposed to represent a generic human. It doesn't have to have a specific racial characteristics. I mean,
so are grapes related to apes as well? So once again, I can't help it. A grape is the reproductive organ. So it's like saying, is a grape related to a uterus?
Give it to him.
Yeah, a little bit. They share a testicle, sure. But in how they do reproductive organs, it's even male and female.
Believe it is. So why does he have no African traits? They want to have them appear as the average Caucasian for some reason. Yet, it's not what they believe.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Just more subtle deceit.
I don't think you can tell that from the picture.
That they're guessing. So let's read this together. It is a revealing story, not only for the creatures it shows, but also because it geographically illustrates how much can be learned from how little. What do they mean by how little? Well, actual evidence. That's what. Let's keep reading. Many of the figures shown here have been built up from far fewer fragments.
What evidence do we have for creationism or a god? None.
Of a jaw, some teeth perhaps, as indicated by the white highlights, and thus are products of educated guessing. Let that sink in. They admit that these are hypothetical, imaginary drawings made from educated guesses.
I agree, Gizmo.
This is the best evidence they have for human evolution. Nothing but pure...
They're like, this is the best they have for human evolution. Just genetics and fossils.
It's a lot more than the evidence for their god. I'm just saying.
If we had this much for a god...
Evidence for God? Yeah.
We would all be theists.
SpongeBob imagination assumptions in their own words. But let's move on now to humans. First, we come across Homo erectus. The illusion in the Time Life book is based on entirely different fossils. The Ternurka fossils were unearthed during and after the early 1970s.
Notice
Amy's
that
favorite
we are...
member of the Homo species.
That's right. Well, I can't help it. Look,
they do it too.
I just have to do a comedic breakdown. You have two funny words here, okay? You have homo, which is just ripe in our culture for some funniness. Now, I always say that I am always appreciative of homos as long as they come over here and suck my... And we have erectus. We have a fantastic two words, a phallic word, which is also
homo
funny.
Flaccid?
Yeah, if it was homo flaccid, that probably also would have been funny, but we have homo erectus. And so there you go. You got to say something. It means upright man is an extinct species of archaic human from the Palestine with its earliest occurrence about 2 million years ago. So all penis jokes aside, ladies and gentlemen, do you notice that we are getting closer and closer to modern man? Which is the key here.
Go figure, right?
Like, as much as this gentleman, and we love our theist brothers and sisters, would love to say that it doesn't seem to be a gradient of fossils leading to modern man, it sure looks like a gradient of fossils leading to modern man. But what do they know? They're just scientists.
Before that, Homo erectus stature could only be estimated from 2 discoveries, one in Java, the other in China, from femur bones. Now that we have more complete skeletons and fragments, we have even more of the story. They state, first man of our genus, modern limbs, but more primitive hands and brain. But let's investigate that. Oh, look at that. Modern day research has discovered that modern day fingers and hand bones have been discovered, and they actually turned out to be the same as ours. Shocker, I know, right, creationists?
Yeah. In fact, that's kind of what you would expect as you get closer and closer and closer.
But if that's not bad enough, the brain size is far more similar to ours and far from other primates. They have tried to say that these ancestors of ours were smaller than us, and this proves that we are evolving larger, and the same with their brains.
No.
But this is not the case, as we have found some of them were even 6'1". And now we know that brain size has to do with the culture of the people and where they are.
Once again, if you feel your racist alert at any time going off, it's okay.
Living and what
you're
they
not
are
alone.
eating. The most complete skulls that we have show us that a lot of isolated tribes all have the same thing in common. Smaller skulls and brains and some bone abnormalities.
Sorry,
usually
what?
the ribs and spine.
No.
The average African's height is 5 foot 5.5
You
inches.
can't just take brain size and extrapolate that to be intelligence of the organism, because there are birds that have very small brains compared to larger animals who are very, very intelligent.
And generally speaking, we don't have that much. You're always going to have variation in everything.
Right.
You could take liver size and do the same thing, but generally speaking, humans don't have that big variation in brain size, not in what you see in multiple species. And in a weird way, he makes like digs and like, look at this thing that evolution should say. And also, I don't believe in evolution. Oh, okay, buddy, calm down before you start saying, and start getting a funny mustache. We get it.
And it's 5 foot 10 inches. So conditions play a huge factor on height and brain and skull. And if that's not bad enough for evolutionists, they recently discovered they were sailors and had language and
In the
navigation skills.
Navy.
Clearly,
Homo
this is
erectus had
primate
language.
or
I
something.
don't think they had language. I don't think they were capable of making like our type of speech. I think they were limited to like grunts and yeah. I don't believe that they.
And
were
even
able
if
to-
so, I would expect at least the ancestral, maybe not a sophisticated language, but I don't understand for
It would
or
be a
against
gradient.
evolution. Yeah.
missing link ancestor to the human species.
It's not
Just
a missing
look at
link.
how they depict Homo erectus still to this day. If this isn't visual indoctrination using pure frauds and imagination to push a narrative, I don't know what is.
Oh, no. I'm glad you asked that question. I actually have a book here. And it turns out that day after day, mothers and fathers actually indoctrinate their children with it. The same ones preaching family values. Those ones.
Let's not take my
Gizmo
word
agrees.
for it. Let's go to a paleoanthropologist himself. Listen to what he
Let's not.
says. Or should I
No.
say, listen to what he admits. This is regarding height, by the way. On the very bottom, we read, "It's a case in the fossil record where discovering more seems to have resulted in us knowing less. But that's just because we can now reject several categorical statements
That's also sometimes how science works.
people used to accept uncritically." You see what
Yeah,
he's
go
saying
figure.
here? He's admitting that their bias is in
I
their
swallowed it all. Darwin. Science.
own way. They cannot break the paradigm. It must be true, so it's rooted in their brain.
And what I like...
It's that it is true. That's the thing. It is true, so we wouldn't say it's not, because it It is. It is what it is.
Yeah, well, it'd be like being angry at gravity. Like, gravity doesn't pick my pocket nor break my bones, so I'm not sure why we'd get angry at it.
And look, you can question evolution all you want. You can go write a paper, go prove it wrong, do the research, get your butt in the lab. Like,
and
Amy
I
always
like
says.
this. Yeah, get your butt in the lab. I like this picture too because of this and what he's about to do. Even though they're trying to insult evolution, biology,
That's right, Doorknob Head. He's assumed the position.
They're taking subtle digs at religion. Like, you can't. This is what religious people do, and so when religious people try to be like insert person as being religious, I just don't understand that dig. Like, do you understand what you're saying?
When they're talking about like their God, I will not question that God is loving, the flood, or all the other bad things he does. No, he's still loving, even if I don't understand it. He still just is.
Something they cannot question, something they cannot fathom not being true.
You can't question.
They are indoctrinated to believe it.
Religion. That sounds like creationism. It sounds like young Earth creationism.
Cannot critically think of an alternative because it must be true. And this is one of...
It is true.
It is true. If you can think of an alternative, present your evidence. Science, observable, testable, repeatable, falsifiable.
And evolution meets all those criteria.
And once again,
it's observable, testable, repeatable, and falsifiable.
And what I like about this, once again, he's taking pot shots at religion. And I wish
does the same thing.
more. I know exactly. It's a Ken Hovind tactic, but I wish
this is your religion.
I wish more religious people
private school
would talk about how bad religion is. I just feel like we should get behind this message. Religion is bad. We should not follow religion.
Or like when Ken Hovind says, you have a lot of faith to believe in evolution. I don't question. You guys have a tremendous amount of faith.
We should say how bad faith is. We should get behind that message.
So faith is bad. Not a good way to determine truth, right, Ken? Are we on board with that? Just having faith is not good.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Of many reasons why evolution theory isn't science at all. And the sooner you wake up to that...
Says, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. John D. Rockefeller created the Education Board. Yeah, okay. Creepy.
Says the Christian who is most likely a rabid free market capitalist, taking shots at that notion.
And what is up, X-Found? Sending love from our Twitchosphere. Says, I agree. Do you know Alexandria's library that burned because humanity to go back 1,000 years? Unfortunately, yes, indeedy.
But as Amy always says, you could burn every science book and they would all be remade. All the same facts would all be discovered the same way.
The great thing, the difference between science and religion is that, we could burn every textbook and we'd eventually discover every fact again.
It's like after when Joseph Smith had finally finished transcribing the Book of Mormon and he gave it to somebody and he was telling them the story. Oh, yeah, I got these golden tablets and I deciphered it and I translated it in my hat and here it is. And they said, okay, go ahead and take those golden tablets and translate it again. Well, no, but I already did. Yeah, but you did it once. You can do it again. But no, I need to see the book I gave you. Why do you need to see the book? Just go to the golden tablets and retranslate them. It's because he would not be able to remember all the bullshit he wrote down in his first book. And
dum.
That's when he said, I don't have those golden tablets anymore. Golly darn, the Angel Moroni took them back. I don't have them anymore. I'm sorry. Yeah, G. Willikers, I can't redo that translation.
What's up, Megan? A late night with Amy and James while I work on silly art project for my art appreciation class.
Thanks,
I am
Megan.
finger painting watercolors. Woo! Sounds fantastic, and sending love to you, Megan. Sinister says it is unsure if this happened or not. Martin Harris took it to his wife, and 120 pages of what was the Book of Lehi disappeared. That's right. And then the wife was smart.
Yeah.
The better.
Oh, we have to read all its crappy quotes. Okay, shortly the public will be unable to reason or think for themselves. They'll only be able to parrot the information they've been given on the previous night's news.
Okay.
A cool story, bro. That can apply to almost anyone.
You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself about. That's what
Next
it's all
on the
about.
list, you can see early Homo sapiens. But if you read the small print and you investigate what the three they're talking about are, they're now classified as nothing but Neanderthal. So we're just going to ignore this because it's nonsensical and another fraud. That should have been removed from the list. So we're just going to move.
Swanscoat man, now thought to be a female. Ha 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 ha.
And
No, when they
next
say
on the
man
list,
in that
we have
context, it means
solo
mankind,
man.
not a gender.
In the small
Prehistoric man known for left particle and optical bone found in the middle pilozone. Once again, early form of Homo sapiens antedating Neanderthal man. But we're getting closer and closer and closer now.
print, we can read an extinct race of Homo sapiens in Java. Solo man so far is only known from 2 shin bones and some skull fragments. That's
See what they say about Solo Man. Yeah.
I don't know. I always love that. It's always like known from this verifiable data point in reality and this other verifiable data point in reality.
What?
Which we
We
can't
don't
do
have a
for God.
completely preserved skeleton of something that lived 500,000 years ago. We might not.
And speaking of which, notice something. Solo man is a subspecies of Homo erectus that lived along the Solo River in Java, Indonesia, about 117,000 to 108,000 years ago in the late Pleistocene. So we are getting to human.
Let's see how many they found. Does it say?
No, 14 skull caps, 2 buzzes, and a piece of pelvis. Possibly 3 skulls and another skull from Norwich, depending on classification. So 4 different skulls. Highly classified.
Subspecies of Homo erectus.
right, everyone. That entire picture.
Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking and you're like, wow, we're almost up to man. How can the video be that much longer? It can't possibly have that much science baked into it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, because you gotta have your science before you
It's
can
an
have
appetizer.
your religion, which is what they're really. He's gotta crap all over science before he tries to spoon feed you his nonsense.
Is made up. Shocker, I know.
I don't understand. How is this made up? It even says on his own thing is a subspecies, Homo erectus, that lived along the Solo River in Java, Indonesia, about 117. Literally what I just read. And he's like, shocker. It's only 10 times what he thinks the universe is.
Yeah,
I don't understand. It's he's showing it
his
on the
case
screen.
closer to 20 times the age of the universe.
But this is what I mean. Silliness with confidence. He's like, look at these facts that they admit are true. I don't understand it.
Next in the list, we have the famous Neanderthal. It says in the small print, not nearly as brutish of a fellow as his name has come to connote.
And this dude is showing the chart from the 70s. So we have recently been learning how intelligent, possibly even wise, Neanderthals were. They were a subspecies. They were able to mate with us, just like horses and donkeys were. And yet,
we have Neanderthal in our current DNA. It's part
exactly.
They're still alive
We
partially
still
in
have
us.
partially in us. But even in the 70s, they knew that Neanderthals were. We were starting to try to not look down on them, but let me bring it up while.
You see, over time, the depictions of Neanderthal have changed greatly. He first started out as basically Bigfoot, a total primitive creature covered in long body fur.
And then
as time went on, they couldn't ignore the facts, and they had to convert him to a modern-day human being that really looks no different than some people that are alive today. But let's go on. Next we read, they had the cranial capacity, in some cases, larger than that of modern man, and he made a variety of tools advanced in design.
Yeah.
Now think about
Except
that. Larger skulls,
man outcompeted
larger brain, and yet
they died out. They did not win.
Also, can we just appreciate for the second that he was like, they had to change their mind until the facts came in, okay? So let's talk about the facts that he just agreed are true. Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalis, or Homo sapien neanderthalis. Notice
43,000 years ago.
Exactly. You're beating me to the punchline.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are an extinct species or subspecies of archaic humans who lived in Eurasia until about when? 40,000 years ago. So what were the facts that he just is trying to push into our face?
The universe is only 6,000 years old. How were they in Europe 40,000 years ago?
That's crazy.
That was 34,000 years before God made anything.
James,
nothing existed then.
Neanderthal existed before the universe existed, before God existed. That's crazy.
It was just God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit jerking each other off for eternity at that time. They never made anything.
Sending love, none of your business. I mean, it's just crazy that, and yes, like I said, we've gotten a more well-rounded, accurate picture of Neanderthals in even the past decade. But I don't understand. That is how science works. Like,
so 40,000 years ago, in context of evolution, this scale is not that long ago. So it's not at all surprising that something that lived only that long ago would have a lot of the same characteristics as modern humans do.
We are 100 to 200,000 years old, which means these guys, Neanderthals, are before that time frame. But look how long it took us. Look how many species of ape we had to get to Neanderthal, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally at a co-species with our own.
Modern man.
A modern, yes, a version of modern man.
But to say they were exactly the same as modern humans is not true either. They were distinct. That's how they could look in the ground and look at bones and say, this is a Neanderthal.
But they are
Homo neanderthalis, not Homo sapien.
None of these things are humans. I would argue Neanderthals are a version of a human. I would say.
I mean, I think human in the scientific is anything in the genus Homo. So I think Even Homo erectus could be considered human.
Yep. And I just want to know how you form any other animal, how you form a goat, ladies and gentlemen, because we can explain down to our own species to a T. Like, this is the kind of stuff you only get from chemistry, physics, and biology, but not religion.
For us, and we're more primitive and stupid. That doesn't line up.
Not
with what we
stupid.
see.
Why stupid?
You
They
can't
were
just
very
find a
intelligent.
skull that is smaller than another
Oh.
one, then line
We
them
got
up
our Ken Hovind shout outs here.
next to others and say this is.
And they
proof
do that.
that's
They
what
just
we're
get on their
doing.
knees to
Then
try to
find skulls that are the exact.
kowtow to Ken Hovind. Oh, look at, we're using your kind of we're using your lines. We love you, Ken.
I honestly, jokes are only funny if they have a basis in truth. I don't even get the joke. Like, I try to like understand it so I can make Bance back, but like SpongeBob imagination, I don't even understand.
I know, Sinister. We've got to get through the video, then we'll let the theists come on.
Hoping this to be a stream where they'd let theists on. Well, I will say that's the difference between our skeptic and ranting and our midnight rantings. It's not always the case, but our skeptic and rantings tend to have a longer video and a shorter open mic, and our midnight rantings tend to be almost shorter intros and go right to the open mics. Not always the case, and we do want to let people on. And I will say, I mean, if there is a theist in there that is like dying to get on, I would probably send them the link. If there is someone out there that's like who can prove
I want to come on, but I have to go
creationism.
soon.
Yeah, I mean, come on and tell us, because we would break the news to the scientific community. That's who I'd really like to know. Or tell.
Opposite of that idea, which are much larger, and then use the opposite explanation to explain the same outcome. This is what's called political doublespeak, and they resort to this all the time. This is what they love to do and have to do when the evidence contradicts the story they invented.
It doesn't.
They never predicted to find what they did with Neanderthal and Coalson. As a matter of fact,
no, actually, science is able to make accurate predictions, and that's one of the beauties of creating a framework of facts. And evolution consistently, reliably falsifies itself. I mean, I don't understand how you think COVID came about. Like, if you think COVID was either natural or man-made, which I don't even want to get into conspiracy theory, but it had to evolve, right? One way or the other, it had to evolve. Like, how do you think it came about? Magic? We keep on going back to magic, because I don't know any other explanation.
Why do we need new flu vaccines every year? It evolves.
Because it evolves.
When Darwin himself first saw the popular Neanderthal skull, he said, "Some skulls of
this, like, just fucking quoting things from 1871, Charles Darwin and Human Evolution. Some skulls."
Oh, you mean he didn't know everything we know today 140 years ago? Go figure.
Very high antiquity.
I don't understand what the controversial.
Such as the famous one of Neanderthal, are well developed and capacious, meaning having lots of room. And that was it. He moved on as though it never existed and never brought it up again, ever. Why do you think that is?
Because it tickles my butthole. Shane Bilowitz says, speaking of SpongeBob, sea sponges are one of the first animals to evolve on Earth roughly 666 million years ago. That is pretty freaking cool. Yeah. And to think that animals aren't even 1 billion years old, because I think multicellular life is 2 billion years. But that kind of contradicts with, I guess, the 6,000 to 10,000 year old model that they're putting forward.
Because it completely contradicted his theory. Even Huxley admitted and said that this proves evolution is
Let me
not
play
a
this
slow,
again.
gradual process that Darwin speaks of, but it must move in fast jumps. Here they are.
Yeah, I'm sure Huxley.
That's a relative
Huxley,
term.
the bulldog of Charles Darwin, was saying that evolution was on its ropes.
They consider fast to be things like the Cambrian explosion, which took place over millions of years.
Yeah, they consider that
fast.
But that is close to like quoting Stephen Jay Gould and saying like evolution totally didn't happen. Yeah, sure.
Or like when they quote Bill Gates to say that, DNA is so complicated it couldn't have evolved. Bill Gates, the atheist evolutionist.
Looking at something that does not line up with what they predicted. This is a falsification of that theory, right in front of their eyes. And that's why, even though this skull was the most famous and popular...
Whoa. Abstract. The Gibson's most celebrated fossil and the first adult Neanderthal skull ever found. Very little is known about its discovery in history while it was in Gibraltar. The skull was sent to London in 1864 as forming a key component in the debates about human evolution, especially how Neanderthal won. The Fetafar skull was understood as such. It was instrumental in initiating I speak good English, the new field of paleoanthropology. This paper draws on published and unpublished primary sources to reevaluate the early history of the Gibraltar skull and provides fresh interpretations of this history. Oh, it sounds like they're doing science.
Popular skull. At Darwin's time, he never talked about it.
What? Well, wait. Was that a paper? Like, hey, we're about to explain something because people don't talk about it, and his point was like, Darwin didn't talk about it? Was that his point? I'm trying.
I think that's all he was trying to say. Darwin didn't talk about it.
My brain hurts listening to this.
Did Jesus talk about it?
You know nothing about the biblical model of ancestry. Always bring
up good. And so I'm gonna be right. Yeah, I'm gonna be right back for like 30 seconds. I'm gonna listen while James criticizes.
Okay.
But we are transitioning into religion.
Breeding, like it's somehow a problem for our model, but not theirs. They think that Noah and his children would have an inbreeding problem after getting off.
They would. They definitely would.
Take a brief moment to explain why inbreeding is not a problem and how Neanderthal and Denisovan fit into the biblical perspective and why it makes way more sense than the story they've invented around these people and why over the decades they've been falsified time and time again. First, no. Inbreeding was not a problem for Noah's offspring because of one major factor: population
magic.
Growth. God knew this because he created us and gave us two rules from the beginning, both to Adam and Eve and then again to Noah. It was be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth.
Have lots of sex
funny about
your
is that evolution theory does have an inbreeding problem. Just ask Darwin himself. Just kidding. But you see, small populations over long periods of evolutionary time would lead to horrible problems. One that proves evolution cannot actually happen.
Not at all.
Imagine small populations of people living for many tens of thousands of years, from bottleneck to bottleneck to bottleneck. Then, after the last bottleneck about 200,000 years ago, humans are stuck in Africa in small tribes for something like 150,000 years. Inbreeding.
Okay.
Welcome back.
That's enough nonsense. Let's talk about this incest thing.
Incest is wincest.
Because you can't really get an entire species from just an Adam and Eve.
Or from Noah and his 3 kids.
Exactly. And it happens. Yeah, it happens twice in the Bible. And not only that, but it is an incest as wincest until it's not. And then eventually he outlaws it.
But Amy, God made good DNA at the beginning, so it was okay. Our DNA today, bad DNA, so incest today, bad. Incest back then, good.
Somehow. Well, James, that was the Old Testament.
Oh, God just magically. Well, you see, when he first created Adam and Eve, Amy, the DNA was perfect and good, and it wasn't corrupted or no mutations. But today we've accumulated these mutations, this entropy. The genome is so degraded. So when you commit incest today, it causes lots of problems. But it didn't back then. It didn't.
Exactly.
Science behind that? None at all. No science behind it. It's magic. God do magic. That's it.
Moses had the wheel.
Reading. How could this be? It's nonsense. And genetics tells us it's nonsense.
I agree.
No.
The Bible is nonsense.
Humanity would have died out long before any of this story played out.
Whoa. Okay.
Except
According to most widely used species definitions, the biological species concept, a species is a group of organisms that can potentially interbreed or mate with one another to produce viable, fertile offspring. In this definition, members of the species must have the potential to interbreed. I agree with that.
If this was the case, there would be far more genetic evidence of fixed substitutions in the human population, especially with a fast mutation rate and how few.
Here they go with the hypergenetics talk that goes right over the head of 99% of people, and they do it in purpose because it just sounds very technical. It sounds like they're making sense. It sounds like they really know the science behind it.
Well, that's why they love talking about genes. I think genes is just a lovely subject for creationists to gain ground of trying to sound scientific after they just tried to sell us on a rib woman and a talking snake.
There can only be one explanation,
and that is Highlander. There can only be one.
And that is mankind is not old. There are no other.
Look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, which looks like science? We have this side, which is we have the Human Genome Project, where we have sequenced our common ancestry with the rest of life. Or we have here the Rib Woman story, where we have the evil Geico trying to sell us on morality from the fruit of the loom.
And a lot of
sounds
incest.
Like science. And a lot of incest.
Lots of incest. And deities flooding and talking snakes and cursing humanity because people ate from the wrong tree, condemning billions to hell because of it. Yeah. Totally.
Sounds like science.
Other options, people. So not only are they mocking the concept that doesn't have an inbreeding problem, they actually forget how bad of an inbreeding problem their own model has.
Whoa. What inbreeding problem? We have populations. That's the entire point. In fact, you have healthier populations by having a diverse set of genetics.
Oh, the irony in all of this. But they have put their foot in their mouth yet again. And they go on and say that it's not just people, but...
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, look at this. We're back to science. You see it right there. Just getting ready to get on this arc.
They got the giraffes. They got the reindeer, lions, looks like donkeys.
Exactly.
They had to include the giraffes every single time.
I was going to say, you almost could say you have like a Noah starting kit, but you got to have those giraffes included.
Animals as well that would have an inbreeding problem, and that there is no way Noah's Ark could be true because of it. Sadly for them,
that's just one reason.
Have examples of this bottleneck scenario playing out, proving that this is not a problem yet again. You see, the
It
Bible
absolutely
gives an
is.
account that God sent Noah
We can
through
see
of every kind of
that
animal.
cheetahs had a bottleneck about I think 10 to 12,000 years ago, where we know their population was down to less than 10 individual cheetahs. That's why they have such low genetic diversity, and we can clearly see that bottleneck in their genetics 12,000 years ago. They're saying every animal on Earth has this same bottleneck, but not 12,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. But we don't see it in every animal. We see it only in certain animals like the cheetah, which is the biggest example.
Of the clean. These animals got off the ark to migrate around the world and repopulate the earth. That is what Noah took them for. So, if this
But yeah,
was
most
true,
of them went extinct
could we
immediately, like the dinosaurs. Why did he take dinosaurs, Amy? What good did that do? Apparently, they died off immediately after they got off the damn boat.
Yeah,
The idea was
them
to
along with
repopulate
the
the earth.
unicorns.
The unicorn, the mermaids. I mean, did Noah take Homo erectus on the ark? And how many pairs of Homo erectus did he have to take? Were they clean or unclean? Did he have to take one pair of Homo erectus or 7 pairs of Homo erectus?
Oh my, I hope 7.
7 pairs of erect homos on the ark.
Which is how many I want.
Animals of a single kind and place them on, let's say, an island and see how they do. See if they can survive from incest. Oh, look at that. The answer is yes.
Oh my goddess. Let's see. So, once again, the modern data strikes again. But whatever. Let's see what the But these people actually did experiments, so I won't shit on them too much.
But even if they found one example where it worked, do we then extrapolate that to say that that every species on Earth could then do that and everything would be fine? I think that's quite a leap to make.
No, in fact, it's basically saying that there was an extreme case where they were able to survive. But is that saying that nature actually prefers incest? No, it's not. That's not how this works.
Exact thing happened in 1957 when we took a single pair of mouflon sheep and left them on the Kruligan Islands near the Antarctic Circle. In 1977, when they returned, the number had grown to 700 sheep. That's just 20 years.
I like this chart.
The number had grown to 7.
Wow, exponential. No, this is just a chart. 0 and 800. Okay.
700 sheep.
Once again, modern. We have a 50s study and 1995.
It's just 20 years being stuck on a small island. And considering male sheep are nomadic travelers by nature, yet they couldn't be isolated.
Once again, there's nothing wrong with using data, especially if you're looking at historical events. You have to use data that is older. But as someone who has recently graduated from academia and wants to be a professor one day, please submit sources that are 5 years old, 10 maybe if you're being generous and it's undergrad or something. But
and that's right, 5. Mark. So you put these where does it mean just because they survived that they were fit for survival, or is it just because there were no predators there, so that whatever type of genetic defects they had really didn't it really wasn't fatal to their ability to survive because they were in a hand-picked environment where they would be have less selective pressure?
Clearly proves that even though the conditions which were not even suitable for them, yet they had no problems whatsoever. And given that the population...
What does it say in the 1957? in the 1957, the local authorities, I did it anyway, decided to offer residents the opportunity to hunt mouflons, a type of wild sheep. A pair of Coalson mouflons was imported from Vincent Sue in Paris. Initially, the Mouflon population grew exponentially, and then from the early 1980s, it fluctuated from 300 and 700 individuals. Cool. Not only that, I do want to say, when you are dealing with incest babies, there's also a limit to how far you can stretch those genetics if you continue to mate them with each other.
Began with only 2 individuals that were isolated on an island. The researchers had the perfect sample to test this inbreeding scenario of a bottleneck and what would happen. Their biased belief in evolution made them predict that this could not be possible, yet it did, and the study confirms it. And it shows, even in their writing, how shocked they were and at how unexpected this was.
One time.
But this is just one of many examples of this scenario playing out in real time, which falsifies a global bottleneck scenario inbreeding problem. The problem is small populations who do not expand in size.
Wait. A new species can do what? Can do what? What is it? What can they do? Are you saying that they can do something? Well, it's always like when I try and ask them, do you believe in micro or macro evolution? And it's like, if you want sugar-free and it's micro sugar or macro sugar, I feel like any type of sugar should give you diabetes. So I'm sorry. If you are using evolution as evidence of not evolution, what are you talking about?
And this goes back to my debate with T-Rock about Noah's flood. And so to say a new species can evolve in as few as 2 generations because something maybe can, in extreme circumstance, happen, would we then extrapolate that out and say that all that could happen just all the time? Virtually every species on Earth could do that, all speciating out in 100 years, just speciating from 2 cats to cheetahs, lions, tigers, jaguars, cougars, leopards. That's quite a stretch.
And this is what we see with Neanderthal and Denisovan. So this takes us into the next chapter. Who were they? These were just grandchildren of Noah, who were just a small group of people who left the population to live on their own and eventually became isolated with a shrinking population. And
I'm sorry, what?
The grandchildren of Noah who moved. I guess they didn't like their other relatives. They just decided to move far away and create entirely new cultures, new languages. By the way, they all spoke the same language because the Tower of Babel hadn't happened yet. Spoiler alert. But anyway, and to invent completely new religious systems. Go figure.
But can I also just point out that for criticizing all of the mounds and mounds of empirical evidence,
it's just baseless assertion.
Just making this shit up. Like, this is just pulled from his butt. Like, I don't know where they get this stuff from. That
we call that a baseless assertion.
I would like to know where the Noahs, where we have evidence for an actual Noah.
Died from incest. And yes, we have evidence for this.
I like that. Do you know why I like that claim? Because it's like he totally knew that no one was going to buy that, especially if you're not already a Christian. And so you do have to, come on. I mean, I totally have evidence for this.
We do. We really do. I promise.
I promise. She's in Canada.
They lived together in small groups and reproduced amongst themselves, and that could cause genetic problems. A healthy gene pool needs constant imports and exports of material.
It appears that they lived in small groups with perhaps 20 or 30 people. A large clan might have 2 or 3 families. These small groups moved over relatively large areas.
Well, think about it.
Showing some sort of documentary. I wonder if they are just quote mining here about Neanderthals.
So
How
they
could
lived in
small
small groups. That doesn't mean they never expanded or different people moving to different groups. It doesn't mean that they lived isolated in groups of 10 to 15 in perpetuity. I mean, yeah.
Population confined to inbreeding last? Well, that question has been asked, and a new study has found that there is no possible way that Neanderthals could have existed for even over 10,000 years. So much for 400,000 years, huh? Everything they thought is literally crumbling and
Are you going
falling,
to show us the study?
and they
What's the
still
study say?
can't see the obvious.
No study? Oh, darn.
So yes, Neanderthal.
Yeah, when it comes to that, they're like flat earthers. Anytime you ask for a model, you get a politician's answer back.
Model? We don't need no stinking model.
Are best explained in our model, and everything about them
Whoa,
tells us.
whoa. What model? The map of you just drawing which way you think people migrated after Noah, in which we don't even believe that was an actual event?
Yeah, that model. Exactly.
Yeah, a model makes predictions, so...
Normal people who lived alongside of other humans and all others today are still related to them in some way or another because their parents were our grandparents. So of course we're all going to share some genetic relation with them. And yes, even Africans, whom evolutionists denied, by the way.
African.
I'm sorry. Like, it just sounds... I'm just going to let that hang there.
Yeah, the way he says that term.
Yeah.
So you see, at first they said they were a totally different species.
Cringe.
But then they had to admit, well, they can breed with us. So that idea was removed from them being a different species by definition. Then they tried to say, well, they're a subspecies, just a different offshoot branch of humans. Then that was falsified when they found Denisovan and modern day people share a lot of genetic similarity with them.
We're all at these these things that he does, like these sound effects and the stock photos he shows, and it's really drives me crazy watching this stuff. Remember the genetic entropy
they
video?
Own the atheists, don't you understand?
Okay, we get it. You got a cool soundboard there, bro. Okay.
Yeah. They are talking about Neanderthals. Once again, I like how he continues to show data from actual scientists and then be like, so how much DNA do we share with Denisovians? At most, just 7% of human genes unique to our species, share most genes with Neanderthals, Denisovians, and our other ancestors. Just 1.5 to 7 of the human genome is unique to our species. A new study suggests Neanderthals, Denisovians, and other ancestors share most of the same genes found in modern humans. Okay, that disproves human evolution. How?
Our model, Noah.
Yeah, something. It rained really hard.
Yeah,
Noah. People share a lot of genetic similarity with them. Then they said, well, they're not a different species nor a subspecies, but they're just a single dead-end branch of
Neanderthals could not have contributed to modern. Wow. What is like I said, what is with his self-triggering to modern African people's genomes because Neanderthals evolved and lived exclusively in Eurasia and therefore could not have bred with the humans living in Africa at the time. Okay, there is interbreeding that went on before Neanderthals eventually passed away, but they still live within Homo sapien genes because of interbreeding to this day. And it happened longer than 10,000 years ago.
Of only the European ancestry through evolution. But then they found that even Africans have their DNA in them as well. So that
No, you're absolutely right.
He does it to himself. Okay.
falsifies that idea too.
Like, I feel like this is another instance where he's showing something freaking cool, and you just put like obvious music back there.
I mean, did we not say that they were interfertile, that humans and Neanderthals were subspecies? They were still interfertile. That's why we have Neanderthal DNA as part of our genome. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking cool. I really don't
Nobody
understand.
denies that.
Yeah. And it took more data to get a better understanding of what was going on. Funny how that works. Less different than polar and brown bears. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're probably divided by a great distance.
True.
They don't migrate like.
True story. And now take this logic. Take this. Do you understand this? Because I've said this before, and I've gotten this from biologists. Humans. You could take two different other apes in a jungle, and humans anywhere on Earth will share more in common than those other two apes because we are that much in common. But sure,
Our genome is not even all that
tribalism,
diverse.
whatever.
We have genetic bottlenecks.
Human. What's up, Nick? We are finding out how much humans and Neanderthals are the same. So spooky. So spooky.
Spooky bed hair?
Basically, everything they once said about them.
I forgot. I think it was Shane who said every time you see Picard, you need to take a shot.
Patrick Stewart, who is almost certain evolutionist.
Yeah, or at least they are men of science.
Has turned out to be 100% wrong. These were just sons and daughters of one of Noah's grandchildren.
Really?
Who decided to live a life of exploration.
Whoa. What? I'm sorry. This once again is, I think the scientific term is pulling us out of Butticus.
Fortunately chose to go north.
But
they got
you notice how skeptical and how closely he's scrutinizing every aspect of human evolution from the scientific standpoint.
He is literally trying to rebut people who got their PhD theses in this, and he got this from, I don't know, BibleChronology.com.
And yeah, he's very skeptical about what the science says, but he'll just pull it out and say, they were just Noah's grandkids. That's it. That makes sense, right?
Totally makes sense.
Genetic disorders from living in small numbers and inbreeding over the 1,000 years. This also explains their lack of chin.
No. Paleontologists generally agree Neanderthals lived in groups of 10 to 15. Okay, that's not. I thought it was going to be something. I really don't even get what you're trying to prove or disprove.
And inbreeding over the 1,000 years.
I don't think he gets
it. This also explains their lack of chin, which even modern-day Australian Aborigines share because of this inbreeding problem that they have as well. So the last question would be...
Another point that's kind of like borderline. Yeah. We'll just let that hang for himself.
We share more genetic similarity with these ancient Neanderthal if they just lived a few thousand years ago. Wouldn't it take tens of thousands of years for DNA similarity to be weeded out? Actually, no. And
it said 40,000 years ago. Right? 40,000 years ago?
40,000 years ago.
conducted simulations to model what would happen if Neanderthal did indeed occur mutations at a quicker rate than modern humans. What would happen to the offspring shared between humans and Neanderthal? Well, the study revealed that rather than genetic similarity slowly declining over time, Neanderthal DNA in modern human genomes would have been rapidly decreased during the first 10 up to 20 generations. So a time period of less than
Once
600
again,
years maximum.
this is omnious
Then
music
it would remain
and
unchanged.
talking about a updated set of data that we got about Neanderthals, which we have actually had a rapid change in our picture. We did used to view Neanderthals. It used to be the stereotype was like the caveman, and it just turns out that that's true. It was just both of us. That's how man came to be.
Thank you, James Wolfe. Yeah, I know Patrick Stewart. Yeah, he's an atheist. He accepts evolution. He use a graph image of somebody who actually agrees with you for your face palming.
Indeed. Well, it's like, once again, if you have to use, and I guess that's his theme of the thing, we're going to use it against him, but really it just ends up being quote mining. If you are using Stephen Jay Gould, Huxley, and Darwin as your evidence and scientific credentialed people against evolution, then you probably have a really, 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 really big straw man on your hand.
Or you don't know what you're talking about.
Throughout all future generations.
That too.
And this is exactly what we see. Neanderthals, being a product of evolution, is falsified. But now let's listen to what evolutionists have to say about Neanderthal and when they flip-flopped on what they once said was a fact.
The science constantly changes how we envisage Neanderthals.
Once again, did that say science just changes its shit all the time, just its fifis?
Like it randomly just changes, like changing your underwear just for the hell of it.
And that's the whole point. I would say, once again, give us something that religious doctrine has given us in the past 1,000 years. A piece of data that we can actually use towards the universe. Nothing.
Well,
nothing.
It's like they hate it. Like, look, science changes, whereas the Bible just says what the Bible says because it doesn't change. Yeah.
Indeed.
I like the model that comports and gets more accurate over time, not the model that starts off wrong and just stays wrong.
After the first archaeological evidence of Neanderthals was discovered in the 19th century, many experts described this species as ape-like. A more realistic
humans are ape-like, though.
Evolved decades later.
That's the thing.
We are apes.
Yeah.
It's sad how they can just get away with pushing lies for decades and then just use the excuse, well, we've learned more now, and then all of a sudden it makes it.
That's an excuse. That's an excuse.
No. That's actually how it works. Can you really imagine that this gentleman just said they use the excuse, we learned more now? Think about that for a second.
And to say that teaching lies, it's not lies. It was based on the data we had at the time. We take data, we take the information we have, we try to construct a model that fits that. But as you get more data, more information, you update your model and you get closer to reality. It doesn't mean the previous model was a lie. It's just not as accurate as the newer model with more data. A lie would be something intended or intentionally set up to deceive people.
Like it means religion. Our model is now more accurate than it was before, and that is precisely how we get more accurate.
it would be a lie not to update the model to account for the new information, just to keep the model the same because we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to change anything. No, that's not how it goes. When we make a mistake or we learn something new, we fix it. That's it.
But this is evolution we're talking about, so why would anyone expect honesty at this point?
Projection.
The Bible just starts off wrong and gets wronger.
You think you're just looking at a Neanderthal, but you're actually looking at a mixture of Neanderthal and modern human. Adams Steppel, Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory. I'd have to verify that.
Because modern humans are a mixture of Neanderthal and modern humans. That's what we are. Up to 2 or 3% of our genome is Neanderthal.
And I would also like to press a little bit on what this dude's actual position is, because he seems to be. Well, I want to know, is Neanderthal and human something different in his eyes? And if so, then it wasn't evolved. It was actually God made two different species that could somehow mate with each other.
I think that he was saying he thinks it was just one of Noah's grandkids and or sons or whatever, and he moved to a certain area and they accumulated a few unique mutations, and that's Neanderthal.
That is absolutely nonsense.
Yeah, it absolutely nonsense.
Yes, Neanderthals.
They had very similar brains to us, so they probably thought similar to we did. I mean, they made tools. They knew how to get food. Go figure. If they didn't get food, they wouldn't have lived.
And this is our entire point. Once again, we showed a gradient scale of different ape ancestors that were millions and then hundreds of thousands, and now we are 40,000 years ago, well within the range of the 100 to 200,000 years of humanity.
Homo neanderthalis or Homo sapien neanderthalis, they are very similar to modern humans.
And it also doesn't surprise me that we kind of look down on other species, and then we kind of got more data, and then we translated that into information and realized that Neanderthals were more like us.
And look, like, this is prehistory. This is 30-some thousand years before recorded history. So we don't have like written records of what they did, but we have archaeological evidence for how they lived and what the kind of tools they made. From that, we can extrapolate what they ate, their diet, what they were hunting with. And we know a lot about them.
And I agree, Scapegoat.
They knew how to hunt. Go figure.
A religion does not learn. It dictates what is. Science learns and readjusts, learn even more. That's far into the religious mindset. That's the great thing about science, is it's able to change its view on what the results come in.
Well, it's like R. Lee Ermey from Full Metal Jacket. You move your the rifle around your head, not your head around the rifle. He's got his bibble, and he's just trying to move reality around that and try to make it somehow fit with his bibble. We just want to know what reality is. We're not necessarily trying to fit it into one specific box. We just want to know what it is. It wouldn't matter if the world was 6,000 years old. It wouldn't mean God. It certainly wouldn't mean Christianity. Yeah.
And yes, Satan is definitely hiding fossils. And science is the most successful endeavor in human history, accomplishing more in the past 400 years than all mankind 100,000. Yeah, basically. I mean, it's the only methodology process that we currently have from discerning fact from fiction.
And we only really got going down this road, as I point out from time to time, once we had, as Amy likes, potty trained the religious to stop killing people for questioning the natural world. Or because for a while there, you could not question the natural world in terms of something that was a religious article of faith. You could not question what the Bible said about anything. And only once we got away from that, where you could question it, did we start to learn that reality is a little different than what they've been telling us it is.
Were the Neanderthals able to develop a culture as we understand the term today?
Almost certainly were.
Expert opinion on this
And
topic
what
is divided, since there's
annoys me is that he is doing what we did in the last video, is they sometimes show science. It kind of gives them this like air of authority just to basically disagree with it in the next step. I mean, these people that are talking right now, this person believes in evolution.
no hard evidence of songs or dances, if indeed they had any.
No evidence of song or dance. What do you expect? You're going to find a fossil of a Neanderthal dancing as he's dead? What kind of nonsense
Jesus
is this?
Christ, the ignorance, the fucking ignorance here is just...
Because we've literally found an instrument that they made. The insanity at this point is just next level. They cannot break out of the evolutionary mindset. It has hindered them from thinking critically and using basic logic at this point. But let's move on.
Well, that's not.
The evidence indicates that there were several groups, and each had its own territory. And once or twice a year, they'd meet at one place to engage in common activity.
An orgy?
These meetings would...
So, fantastic that you bring that up. Did they have culture? Well, that flute that you talk about, it actually has an age. And it was dated to about 50,000 to 60,000 years ago. Funny how that works. That, James, do you notice the extra zeros on there that they seem to can't account for?
It does have a couple extra zeros on it, yeah. It should be two less. 5,000 to 6,000 years ago.
But yes, once again, this is them trying to use evolution to debunk evolution.
But it's not just the progression of the fossils, but it's also, we see where you look in the past, and as you go further back, you tend to get less like modern humans and more like your classical apes. As you move to the present, you get closer and closer to modern humans. But it also works that way for the tools that they used. As you go further back, the more primitive tools that they used, and as you move to the present day, they start getting better and better tools that they were using to work with. Go figure, huh?
Produce the desired results only if the various groups could communicate with each other.
The medulla oblongata.
Have been studying what sort of language the Neanderthals may have spoken. In any case, these ancient humans do seem to have had the physical capability.
Ancient humans.
Yeah. They almost certainly did.
But we know that the ear bones of Neanderthals seem to be functioning like ours do for sound transmission, the same range of frequencies. So their hearing
quoting another
would have given them the same capability.
Either biologist or anthropologist, another academic who believes in evolution.
Person,
yes. Also, if you just joined us, we are Skeptic and Ranting on human evolution theory exposed, where it's not feeling very exposed.
Capabilities as we have.
Indecent exposure.
Language.
Yeah.
So I think all of that suggests Neanderthals had a basic language. They'd be talking to each other. They had speech capability.
They almost certainly did, because...
Like you're going to go and meet up with a group of people that you're going to be building things with and hunting with and trading with and not even have the ability to communicate to one another. I mean,
but wait, he
come
just
on.
said they can.
See,
he said
the
they
reason-
could.
Yeah, I don't understand what he is now trying to argue
Is
against.
he like trying to say, oh, these stupid scientists, they're just now figuring that out? Of course they could communicate with each other. Well, you might think that, but science likes to check the evidence and be sure. Let's look at the structures in their throat. Let's look at the ears and see if it lines up with what we think. And go figure, it does. They probably heard Ed spoke very similar to us, which is what you would expect. Go figure, right?
Yeah, it's almost like they got new data and they translated that into information.
And
what
confirmed
annoys
what we
me,
thought.
it's like Captain Hindsight. That sounds like what he is saying right here. Like, wow, Neanderthals could actually speak and had a language. Thank you, Mr. PhD scientist. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, guy that, oh, I have to turn homework into you? Oh, okay.
Yes, I am fully vaccinated and boosted, and I am very thankful to Moderna Pharmaceuticals. I am very grateful for the protection they provide. Thank you.
Also sending love to our Tang Gang brothers and sisters out there.
It's so confusing for the evolutionists just because, one, they thought they couldn't speak, have the capacity to speak,
No, we
or the
didn't.
brain power to do it. Then they learned, oh, they have all of those, so I guess they could. So yet again, more evidence against them and what they used to say.
Not at all.
What? Wait, what does that even mean? More evidence against them and what they used to say.
Because before they thought they were just cavemen grunting, but now we know that's not true.
But once again, it's just I hate to say dumb way of thinking of things, but like when you break that down, he is criticizing the way that scientists used to think before they got new data. I mean, he's literally showcasing a scientist that is excited to tell you about how Neanderthals had some form of culture, and then his response seems to be, oh, herder, look at the scientists telling us that Neanderthals were just like us. We totally knew that in our book of giants. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
They were nomads, but they lived in a rather limited region.
Once again, this is the guy he's criticizing. I don't know why he's showcasing him. Like, this is what I mean. He's both using him right now to give this episode, show, whatever he's broadcasting,
an actual biologist,
give it an air of elegance, because this is an actual academic, a biologist.
Someone knows what they're talking about.
And yet
he knows what he's talking about.
And yet he's about to criticize him. It's just the balls, the chutzpah on creation.
Sir, you could have just read the Bible and figured that out.
I know. James, they have a book. It says a thing.
Yeah, you could have just read the Bible.
Like extracting raw materials or slaughtering animals. And they created living spaces in sloped areas that protected them from high winds. They knew how to make good use of these narrowly defined areas.
And yet, no matter where we look or where we go, whether it's Denisovan or Neanderthal, we find that they had advanced technology for primitive...
What? Like, that's their point, and now you're basically insulting him. I mean, but we'll go over that. Like, what is your? You can't just add an angry tone. Like, I get it. Anger is a good funnel, especially for comedy, for art, and yet, you can't use him and be like, "This is what we know now." Yeah, scientists know stuff now. They're stupid.
Suck it, scientists.
Suck it, scientists. You learn stuff.
People. Now consider this. Imagine you went back in time.
Well, and let me just say, I guess you can do that. It's just stupid.
Nothing except for what you have in your own mind. We would already have an edge based on our knowledge. But could we survive just like they did, and then also take the time to make what they made in their spare time? That's pretty incredible, actually, considering the harsh conditions at the time when they lived. This is after the flood, when the Ice Age came down all the
The Ice Age that happened 4,000 years ago, right?
Once again, just making this up here.
They're just
it's where they were living.
Like they I think they used to say there never was an ice. Then they kind of got caught into, okay, there had to be an Ice Age. Okay, well, it just happened after the flood. There you go, boom, Ice Age 4,000 years ago.
They're very adjustable. When Jesus was alive, they thought that he was going to reign supreme. Then he died. And they're like, hey, do you guys know what the term retcon means?
Maybe he'll come again.
Oh, my.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, all those prophecies he didn't fulfill this time, don't worry about all those. He will fulfill them later on.
Exactly. It'll happen in part 2.
Let's look at some of the things that they created. This, for example, was made by the Denisovans.
This incredible object was dated between
I still don't get the point. I'm still trying to get what the point he is trying to convince us here.
They
like
were more advanced, like that they were basically on par with modern humans.
Okay, cool story. That does not prove Noah. That does not prove any point from religion.
1,050,000 years ago. But just under a decade later, in 2017,
how many thousand years,
there was some speculation it was even older, being between 65,000 and 70,000 years old. Although,
how old?
as far as I can see, this was never confirmed. In 2008, the world's oldest stone bracelet was discovered, the handiwork of a now extinct species, subspecies, or population of humans that scientists call the Denisovans. It was found in stratum 11 of the world-famous Denisova Cave, located in the Altai region of Siberia, and it truly is one of a kind, showing technical skills in fine stonework long before we ever thought was possible. Whoever its wearer and whatever its importance, it is a
will become controller of the universe. Wait, no.
Find that fundamentally changed our views on the Denisovans, showing us they were far more advanced than we ever thought was possible. In bright sunlight, the green chlorite would have reflected the rays of the sun, and at night...
It's cool, but he's making it sound... They're trying to make it sound like they built the space shuttle, or they...
I was going to say...
invented a supercomputer. It's a piece of rock. It's really cool, but...
It's jewelry. I mean,
yeah.
I love jewelry as much as the next person, and yet there's nothing supernatural here.
It's amazing that that they could do that 60 to 70,000 years ago. Yeah, it's really cool, but they're trying to say that these were Noah's grandkids, and that Noah built the ark and was super intelligent, and
yeah. But no.
Noah probably had an IQ of 500 or something crazy like that. Well, if he had an IQ of 500, why wasn't he building spaceships? I mean...
By a fireside, it would have cast a deep shade of green. It is also delicate and very fragile, which is why the experts believe it was worn on special occasions only, and wasn't an everyday object. We can see the smooth, clearly polished, curving outer edge of the bracelet.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the therefore God.
A drill hole that's running through it, which has a diameter of 8 millimeters. The bracelet is less than a centimeter in thickness, and it has an estimated diameter of around 7 centimeters, shown here on the wrist of a mannequin. Inspecting the artifact, and scientists stated that the drill that was used to make the hole had a relatively high speed with minimal fluctuations. Some kind of implement was used, and so the technology for the day was certainly advanced. The Denisovans had clearly mastered skills that were considered uncharacteristic for the Paleolithic. They could precisely drill, grind, and polish even the most
I mean, it's cool drill. I wouldn't call it precise.
I mean, and here, we got to hold some context text, because I don't want to keep on have like an insult fest on our ancestors, because I dislike it when they do that sometimes to our ancestors. I feel like they're doing that when they basically wipe out the vast majority of them. That's what they're saying with a 6,000-year-old Earth. And so I want to say, I think jewelry is freaking cool. I almost feel naked when I don't have something around my neck and around my arm. I like accessories. And I find a highly accessorized person attractive trait. And yet it's not supernatural. Like, it's not. It is a trait of consciousness. I will say that. We'll get all deepity do. Is that you got to be a conscious agent to make a say like, ooh, I want a purple necklace instead of a black necklace because I'm wearing a specific type of dress, and yet my precious, and yet bring me to the Jeebus, to the theological link here. Like, there is nothing about this that says therefore God, and so we are actually moving on to the end of the opposition viewpoint. We have been skeptic and ranting on human evolution theory exposed. And let me tell you, if this is exposing why human evolution didn't happen, you're failing. Like, that's definitely what this is. Just not the type of argumentation that would even point you in that direction. So we're going to jump back into it. Woo! Sending love, Rajos.
Stunning. Chlorite was also not local to the cave it was found in, and would have had to have come from at least 200 kilometers away, meaning it was likely a precious and valuable material.
I'm hoping the build-up is worth it.
Next to the hole on the outer surface, there is a specific zone of polishing, indicating it was in constant contact with some kind of soft organic material. It's possible there was a leather strap attached, likely with a heavy charm hanging from it. The polishing around the hole has helped the experts to distinguish.
Look, once you start talking about leathers and a really good polish hole, you got my attention.
Top and bottom of the bracelet.
Tops
Although this is the most spectacular find, the Denisova cave has also brought forth many other objects, including a 50,000-year-old needle, as well as
I'm sorry. Can we hear that again?
Many other objects, including a 50,000-year-old needle.
Look at that! 50,000 years old. That seems to be 5 times bigger and older than you think the universe is. What are you trying to showcase us, dude? I just don't get it. Cool. We already have accepted that Neanderthals are way smarter than we used to stereotype them for. That's our point.
There's a ring that's carved out of marble. Here we can
also, I really just want to emphasize really, really hard how this is not any evidence against human evolution and really is just evidence towards human evolution. But okay.
But I mean, you see, like, these type of tools that they're showing here, as cool as they are, is there anything we've seen to indicate these people were maybe 1 or 2 generations away from a family who built a boat that is bigger than even modern boat makers can make a boat float?
Yeah.
I mean, these are really cool tools for 50, 60,000 years ago, but they're saying, no, these people's grandparents built the ark and housed all the animals. I'm not seeing that level of craftsmanship on these that would lead me to believe they could do anything like that. Like, as cool as these things are, not to shit on them, because we're witnessing the evolution of technology. But
indeed.
Yeah.
And what is up, Alza Akbar? Woo-hoo, we're jumping back in. And so we will go for the end of the video. We will open up for like a very short open mic, especially if anyone disagrees with us, but we're probably going to mostly wrap up and then head to Discord. And so we're sending love. We are doing human evolution theory exposed. In fact, someone even say we're skeptic.
Suck it, science.
See pendants made from animal teeth, as well as tools that were fashioned from bone. This is a 50,000-year-old tiara that was made from
exactly what we would expect. The materials they had available to them.
And look, I love a bone tiara as much as the next girl. I'm just trying to see the connection to Jeebus.
That shows incredible technical know-how. The Denisovans would have had to remove the tusk from the mammoth, cut it into thin pieces, and then soak it in water before bending it into shape.
They had to remove it from the mammoth.
Then there was scraping, cutting, grinding, and polishing, a variety of different techniques to achieve the final product. The Denisovans were clearly sophisticated and
here's a bunch of people you can see here that are about to say why a bunch of rain made a bunch of animals carnivorous. That's exactly what these people wearing lab coats are about to explain.
Experts believe they were more progressive than both Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. So how and why Homo sapiens
not a nuclear reactor, Mark.
We still don't know.
It really is sad how the theory of evolution makes...
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Take a really long drink. In fact, we are not guilty if you get alcohol poisoning, but...
Not guilty. Y'all got to feel me.
Drink.
Makes people not see the obvious. But let's move on.
Let's.
Next, we have Cro-Magnon man. They state, only a cultural step away from modern man. The brain capacity was about 1,600 cc, somewhat larger than the average modern-day human, but produced a variety of sophisticated tools, such as retouched blades and scrapers, nosed scrapers, the chisel-like tool known as a burin, and fine bone tool.
Oh. Bone tools. Huh.
Oh, so a little bit before the flute that Neanderthals were playing, settled in Europe, continuously occupying the continent, possibly from as early as 56.
Roughly the same time period.
When extinct, 40,000. So there is that flute time of 35,000 years ago. Early man. Once again, we are 100 to 200,000 years old. We started in the millions, went to the 100,000s, and we are finally talking about early man. I want to say he demonstrated nicely a fantastic gradient of how man evolved. So
the technology is evolving. The organism is evolving. The technology is evolving.
Yeah. Exactly. It's almost exactly what you would find if humans evolved.
Wait, the tools are getting more advanced. They're getting better. We're seeing more technology. Huh. Go figure.
Tools as well. So they separated Cro-Magnon man from us originally because of the tools they found.
Look at that. A side drink right there, ladies and gentlemen.
So silly.
Think about that. Let's
we're
really
thinking
look
about it, Matt.
Between them and us, shall we? Oh, look at that. They're actually modern in every anatomical respect.
But wait, didn't you just say that their brain was bigger? Did he just say that they had a bigger brain case than we did?
And he's quoting a source that once again says that they were between 35 and 10,000 years. So
modern in every anatomical respect to us. What a shocker.
Wow,
Jeez.
It's almost like we have finally made it to modern man.
It's
But
amazing.
look right there,
how you
1600
actually
cc's
read
versus
the small
1300.
print that they don't intend for the public.
That's
to
a
ever read.
difference.
Forensic investigators find a corpse in a river about a week old, and they can't tell you anything about it. But they find a finger bone in the middle of a field 1 mile underneath the ground, and they build an entire life story off of it. That should tell you something right there.
Oh, because that really happened.
It should tell you that scientists actually build pictures off of data, and that religious people build things because a book said so.
Now, what he's showing right here is now, yeah, there were times, unfortunately, where people did think that certain groups of people were less evolved than others. That is not what modern science says. That is not in any way a modern view of everything is just as evolved as everything else. That is
yes, it's a misunderstanding of evolution.
A late 19th, early 20th century view that thankfully we don't hold anymore.
Theory is, was, and always will be a racist theory at its core. That died
the irony, Amy.
Years ago.
Indeed.
But unfortunately, it's always going to plague our school system and society because it's protected by law and pushed onto our children with no alternative.
Because one is science and one is religion. In the homepage of the National Center of Science Education, nonprofit tax-exempt membership organization working to defend the teaching of evolution against sectarian attack, we are a nationally recognized clearinghouse for information and advice to keeping evolution in the science classrooms and scientific, quote, scientific creationism out. Sounds like a fantastic goal.
It sounds like they're doing the Lord's work, literally.
The sooner people wake up to this reality, the better. Sadly, most will never see the agenda, nor be able to break the indoctrination, even when better evidence.
News to another student nation asks why. Life is an accident, evolution, no absolutes, life has meaning. You know, it's funny that we have a problem, not once again, I don't want to get political, but we have a problem in a specific religious country and not in a lot of secular.
Right. Its correlation does not equal causation because, yeah, there are countries that are more secular that don't have issues like this. And trying to blame gun violence on science is pretty silly. Whatever, you can debate the causes or, you know, the responses or the different factors, but it's got nothing to do with teaching science. Nobody says because there's no God, therefore life doesn't matter, or that's not how anybody thinks.
Evidence is presented. The reason I made such a long series debunking this is because the human evolution chart.
Evolution is suicide because everything, eventually you realize that life is stupid and pointless. Okay, no, actually, and they always go to this big ass nihilism point. Okay, I'll sum this up. Realizing that you're going to die is called being an adult. I'm sorry, but it's true. And life is actually not stupid and pointless. A lot of these arguments that we witnessed tonight are, but life actually has a lot of meaning. So go out and find it. Go out and make it yourself. I'm sure you have a lot of goals.
Now, if you spent your whole life wound up in this delusion that at some point you're going to get everything you could ever want and live in a perfect utopia and everything will be great, finding out that that's not true might be very earth-shattering to your reality. Yeah. But I think once you realize that this is all that we know that we get, you're not thinking about, oh, well, after I die or after this, I get it all. So at some point, death is actually going to a better place. We don't think that.
And
good night,
James Wolfe.
Thanks so much, James.
Send in so much love, and we're almost about to wrap up. We've just got a few more minutes left in the video.
Still plagues the schools to this day.
Yeah, this picture. Look how much this triggers them. Oh, we came from other apes. It's so spooky.
It is one of the most popular images on Earth regarding human evolution. So when someone comes along and tries to say, this is an old, outdated chart, remind them, if it's so outdated and worthless, then why haven't they removed it?
Not worthless.
Why
it may not be the most precise, the most up-to-date chart, but it's not worthless. It does give you a lot of good information on it.
And it's not going to be removed. Neither is anything else about evolution unless we get new data, and chances are that's just going to be better evidence for evolution.
Now, and here he's quoting Ernst Haeckel from 1904.
Jesus, oh Christ, look at this shit. 1904.
Now, yeah, Ernst Haeckel had some views on race that are not consistent with our modern views on race. He lived 100, almost 20 years ago. He was a product of his time. It doesn't mean the science he did was bad. It means he had some...
Before World War II, before World War I.
It means he had some views on race that are not the way we think about it today. He may have even been racist. There were a lot of racist people back then. Doesn't mean evolution's not true.
Why? Because I agree, it is old, outdated, and 100% worthless. And the fact that they still use it shows how little they care.
Also, just to say, the same biology and using evolution as a factor shows us that race is in fact a social construct. And so it took us a while. Yeah, took us a while to actually get to the truth. But once again, do you know what replaced bad data?
Better data?
Better data.
Well, I mean, they realized we came out of Africa when they figured that when they found out that the greatest genetic diversity is actually in the African continent, which surprised a lot of people because they have views that all those people are the same, but actually they're not. That's the greatest source of genetic diversity in the world, and every group that is migrated out of Africa has a smaller gene pool than the pool that's available there. We came out of Africa. We are all Africans.
Once again, cutting edge.
About lying to the public and how little has changed since that time it was made, including how pathetic the overall evidence for evolution actually is. Since that time, have we actually discovered more missing links?
Oh, get it in Social Dawkins.
Ha 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 ha.
I don't think he's I wonder who he's quoting. A racist quote, but real ape. Oh, whoa! I'm sorry. What is a real ape? Wax fake Neanderthal living.
No matter what race you are, you're no more or less an ape than anybody else. It's ridiculous that they keep trying to.
Yeah, this actually is not what evolution states.
Not at all.
He pulled this once again from his butt.
Supposedly,
we are all apes.
Of course, as long.
Yeah, in fact, let's just go back.
We actually discovered.
Untangle this. We are all apes. It turns out that Neanderthals were not the stereotypical caveman that we thought.
They were closer to modern
people
humans.
With white and dark skin, just as Jane was saying, we all came from Africa and evolved. And just as James
evolved than the other
was saying before, we are all 4.5 billion years old. The only people that are more evolved than you are your children. The only people that are less evolved than you are your parents. That is how evolution works. Welcome.
And exactly, Mark. We did not evolve from gorillas. We have common ancestry, but we did not evolve from gorillas.
Exactly.
Heard more missing links, supposedly. Yeah, of course. As long as you
and that's very true, Udef, because
missing
that
links, we
comment
have a
Udef
lot.
said, because that's what they like to talk about, Darwin's book, because the origin of species, the preservation of favored races, he was using, which they say, look, Darwin was a racist. Well, he was using the term race more like species,
and
it can be used in that way, even though it's not how we usually use it nowadays.
And at the time, there were people running around with a book trying to own people as slaves. And so he was an abolitionist. And so if you are on team, let's get rid of slavery for the time, that's really all I care about.
That is good. That is a good position to have.
And also, I mean, not to have like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh, here you go. Yeah.
But like, I nothing pisses me off more. I mean, this is the big. You could not quote mine someone more than trying to use Stephen Jay Gould to say something against evolution. Like,
biological arguments for racism may have been common before 1850, but they increased by orders of magnitude following the acceptance of evolutionary theory.
Yeah.
So people who had racist beliefs before evolution, then when evolution came out, they used that to bolster, or they worked it in to the beliefs that they already had. Yeah, that's how.
And I would
also
would love to see where they're pulling this from, because once again, it almost always is the opposite of what they are saying. It's generally
yeah. Well, he's making it sound like, oh, before evolution came out, all the races lived in harmony and there was no racism or division. We were just a brotherhood of man, one man loving the other man and not being killed for it. But yeah, and then evolution came along and everybody just got these racist attitudes, and they divided people along racial lines. No, that's how it had always been throughout human history. Evolution didn't cause that.
Yep.
But if you actually investigate and can read in between the lies, you will quickly see.
But yes, there is that is peak quote mine. I don't think it really. I don't think it gets any better than that.
Falls apart. Exactly. Every one of them is nothing but fancy stories hyped up to sell and get famous from. And get
the fucking irony. Yes, scientists work day in, day out to become social media influencers. Give me a break. You know how you want to make money? Just ask what's his name from Scientology? Creflo Dollar, yes, all those guys too. You want to make money, you get religious. You make a religion.
Or government grant money.
L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard, thank you. Yeah. And we are actually in the last 3 minutes of the video.
Post the link.
So I'm really going to open it up. If you agree with us and have something super interesting to say, come join us. But really, we're looking for those that disagree with us. And then after that, we are going to probably head out. But we're sending the link into chat. I'll even show it up on screen if you would like to come join us. But we are finishing out the last 3 minutes.
Come on, Mark, so we can promote your upcoming debate.
Name for yourself in the field of paleontology. That's what it has become all about. They know that all they have to do is
because these scientists are getting rich
and create a story for a quick headline that makes them.
They
very
hate
popular,
that number,
no matter
because 97%. They only do that 3% number comes from 3% variance, and so it's basically a middle finger to creationists who are saying, "Show your model." Show a fucking model, and we will maybe sway. But until then, there's just the 3% wackadoodles.
Suck it, science.
How wrong it is. The public quickly forgets about the fact that it was a lie and retracted later. But we will cover all of these frauds at another time because there are so many.
So many, we can't cover them all.
Stay tuned.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Somebody can talk so much but say so
little. Indeed.
Just nothing there, really.
I don't know what was exposed, because if you just go through it piece by piece, it shows that humans evolved from other apes.
Our model
shows a clear gradient.
Robust. Our model is robust.
And did you notice it could have went like to 200,000 years, 2,000 years, 2 million years, 1,000 years. It could have went all over the place, but it didn't. It went 50 million years, 40 million years.
More
it
like
eventually
modern
got
man.
to 100,000 years, into
further back, less
years.
like modern man. But and that's the thing. That's what they're saying. They're saying, oh, all these animals just lived all at the same time, and they were all killed in the flood. And the dating methods are wrong. They're not accurate. Well, if that were the case, you would get these numbers. They'd be all over the place. But no, that's not what we see. We see a gradient in line with modern evolutionary biology, what modern biology teaches.
And all right, I think we're going to do kind of intro outros, because we have our lovely skeptics on, and we're just going to darn agree with them too much. But we want to shill. We want to make sure that they get their say on the topic. And we just want to send love in general. Got our rant off. I do want to say before, speaking of sending love and Randolph Richardson, that this Sunday I will, for the first time, be on the.
You were on before once, weren't you? It was a while ago.
I don't think I was. I've watched. I don't think I was very close to being on it, but I don't think I ever did. They invited me to the friend brigade and all this, but now I'm actually going to be on there. And so come watch on T-Jump. T-Jump has, I love what he calls it. He calls it philosophy kindergarten, because basically all of the theists that come on there, let's just say they are not Thomas Aquinas. But that's why I love it, because I say like a good 50% of the people are like, this is not a fair format. What do you mean?
They just don't they just whine about the format.
Convince you? How am I going to convince you? And I kind of love that. That's fun to me. So I am excited. So I'll be on that on Randolph Richardson with T-Jump, with Taco, I'm trying to shout out J Mike, a bunch of fantastic other non-believers. So go check that out on Sunday. And they tend to be a decent amount of time, which is fun, in the Lion's Den of Theus. But we are going to bring in Mark Reid and Shane Bilowitz, and then we are going to head out. So we are sending love, and we are going into our we're going to go like this.
She didn't do that, really. She did.
Do you see what I did there? Well, what is up, Mark Reid? We are Skeptic and Ranting. We have actually been talking about human evolution theory exposed. I felt very exposed. Hope you're doing well.
And so.
That's right. We want to know, what are your thoughts about the topic and what you got going on?
Yeah, I think your like review of the guy, it's such a bad faith video. Like, seriously, I don't even know where to start with that.
Does he even believe this shit?
It's very hard to say. I mean, you come up against these people and they kind of just the waving away of all the data we've collected, and the sheer scope of the data as well. Like it is insane how much evidence there is for evolution, and all leading to one single outcome. It is the most tested theory in the history of humankind. It's been tested and tested over and over and over, thousands upon thousands of times, and it's survived every single attempt at debunking it. So if it's survived the attempts that geneticists and evolutionary scientists and people who have real genius minds have thrown at it, I don't think some 2-bit Christian on YouTube is going to take it down. I think that it's going to survive whatever's being thrown at it.
And talk about money. You would be wealthy overnight if you could disprove
absolutely.
Evolution. You would be a rock star if you could publish a paper that said Darwinian evolution false, doesn't work. Here's the data. You would be the man. You would be. Yeah.
I mean, people that disprove even one small part of it, like the person that managed to show evidence that Neanderthals were more intelligent, for instance, that gives them success, right? So even disproving one small part of it, if you could disprove the entire lot, you would be absolutely famous. You would be the new Darwin, basically. Yeah. You would be the new Darwin if you could demonstrate scientifically that God created humans instead of some kind of other process, and demonstrate how it happened and the process. You would be the new Darwin, and your name would go down in time forever.
Book deals you would get, the amount of money you'd get for speaking fees and interviews, you would be wealthy beyond.
Not even just from religion. It would come in from, if you could scientifically prove it, it would come in from companies wanting to use your research to, create new tech or do different things and apply it to genetics. And, but of course we see none of this, like literally none of it. I mean, I'm got a debate coming up with Hovland next Tuesday.
And that's right.
Yeah. We wanted to ask.
I think it's 8 p.m. Tuesday.
We want to host your after show for that debate. Would you?
Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm free that day, and I've got like all day because it's 8 a.m. at one Wednesday for me. So I can definitely come after there.
Big victory celebration afterwards.
We're just happy wherever you can come.
Well, I watched your debate against T-Rock, James, and you did fantastic. And there's only one thing I want to say that really annoyed me about that. Not from you, from him about that debate, is he spent so much time wasting looking for stuff and letting you sit and just run the clock down. I don't know for sure, but I have a suspicion he did it on purpose, and it wasn't fair because. That's what I mean, I can't prove it. I don't know for sure. Maybe he is just new to debate and doesn't realize what he's doing. But I found it horrible the way that he ran the clock down. It wasn't cool, especially because you've got an audience sitting there. And I just wanted to say, if that happens in future, James, I would recommend that you just say, okay, while you find that,
I'm looking for that.
Yeah, I'm going to keep talking. Yeah, I'll make a few points, and then you'll find either they won't try it or they'll find their points a lot faster the next time.
And that's key, because you're not just talking to them; you are also talking to the audience. So
right, but it's that sort of long blank silences that it's horrible for the audience. Nobody's getting, the debate's not progressing in any way. It's just sitting there watching somebody, click around their mouse and look for stuff, which was what he did, I think, at least 2 occasions. He spent minutes. A couple of times. And
he had some connection issues and whatnot, which is fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to. Yeah, that happens. But I'm just saying that if that happens in the future, say, okay, go find what you need to. That's fine. But while you're doing that, I'm going to address some points that you've made, or here are some new points. Yeah. Keep that conversation going. Number one, it helps. The audience isn't just sitting there waiting for someone to find his stuff. And 2, it also lets you have some free time to put your points across.
while you're looking for your data on
right
movements to try to say that, oh, they could move like that, I can say, well, that doesn't matter, because if the Native Americans were here before, during, and after the flood, if the Chinese were here before, during, and after the flood, the Egyptians, then it doesn't matter, because they were here before the flood, during the flood, after the flood.
Right.
Are all these civilizations being misdated by anthropologists? Just not one, all of them. They're all being misdated. It's really
Well, it just helps because I've seen people who I absolutely believe have purposely used, I have to find something, just wait there, to run down the clock of a debate to get to the end, and or to reset the conversation away from something that you've said that they don't want to talk about, that they'll switch quickly and pivot and say, hey, I'll just find this thing to show you. And then, it's a bit dishonest. I'm not sure if T-Rock was doing that, but
I don't know if he was.
Yeah.
He did just throw a few points at me that I had never heard before, that really just kind of knocked me off a little bit, because I'm like, I've never heard a Christian make that claim before, but okay, all right, fine.
He pivoted very quickly when he couldn't address what you were saying. He just pivoted real quick to something else, and it was just like, well, I'm not
something
sure.
He did have data
or just personal anecdotes, like his dog eating pears was the weirdest thing to pivot into, to sort of address the whole fundamental problem of carnivores on the ark. All carnivores, so eagles, kestrels, otters, you name it, everything on the ark, lions, cougars, bears, badgers, like all of these animals. Oh, my dog ate pears once. It's like, what?
It's like Ken Hovind said, there was a lion once during the war where there was a meat shortage, and it survived on cabbage. Cool story.
Yeah, and I mean, it had to be fed eggs as well to get the protein it required. So then that necessitates a chicken coop, which necessitates a handler for these chickens and somebody to organize that. And if you're doing that for it multiplies problems. So, but anyway, that's the only.
I appreciate the feedback, Mark.
No worries. But you did a fantastic job.
Thanks.
What he did annoyed me a little, and I thought, are you doing that just to run the clock down? Because that would be, but fantastic. I really enjoyed it. So I'll let Shane go, but thank you so much for having me on. This is, I guess, an intro outro.
We'll hopefully see you coming up on Tuesday after the debate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really looking. It should be a lot of fun. Kent, as I've said before, atheists love Kent because he is so ridiculous. It's just
to score on.
It is like a punching bag, but his rhetoric is very good. It's just that his actual, arguments are absolutely terrible.
It's the same with this video. It's that they say very silly things super confidently.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things
argument rhetoric. No, I was just saying super confidently fluffed up with some flowery rhetoric.
But yes, go check out Mark's debate. We'll be there. I'm Square.
Thank you.
And sending so much love, and thank you for joining us on tonight's episode of Skeptic Ranting.
To be torn apart. His debate with Atheist Jr., the stunt that Kent pulled in that one, he deserves a good beatdown.
Was that the start of it, where he basically went into all kinds of personal stuff about
it?
I found that absolutely deplorable.
That was absolutely in terrible taste. That was ridiculous.
That has AJ is a really nice guy, and
he's a great guy.
He seemed to not know what to like. I would have pushed back against that. I would have.
And he didn't push. He didn't make any.
I know.
I didn't hear.
If you want to look for somebody to criticize, you can bring up all kinds of things to criticize. In Kent's personal life, and AJ was a bigger man.
Oh, absolutely.
a lot bigger man than Kent. I don't think I would have stopped from pushing back, but I've got my own style, and whether that would be right or wrong is up in the air and debatable. But I found it deplorable to bring up somebody's sexuality in a debate to sort of make a point, kind of thing. It wasn't cool. It really was not.
Makes him look like an asshole.
Not to his followers, not to the people that believe him, and they
were cheering it on. They probably thought, "Oh, great job, Kent. Suck it, AJ."
So it really depends on your perspective. And he plays it off as, I'm just having a laugh kind of thing, but I think it's a lot more malicious than that. I think it's I think he's trying to unsettle his opposition. I think he just sees it as a debate tactic to sort of unsettle his opposition before going in. But I think AJ just moved past it and went on, which he looked fine. He
did a good job in that debate.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got to say, AJ's a bigger man than I am, because I would have been like, "Oh yeah, what about your marriages, Kent? What about your AJ?" Yeah, AJ's. Yeah, exactly.
When you go serve those 30 days in jail, Kent.
Obvious questions, right? If you want to sort of start talking about the moral character of your opponent, don't go there, Kent. If you're talking moral character, you are the worst person to bring up any kind of moral character at all. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to Amy and James.
So much,
they deserve it. They're so good. Ring the bell so you can jump into the show here. That's how I got the notification today. Really handy. Thank you so much, guys. I love you both.
Thanks,
and love everybody.
Love you too, Mark, and good luck.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it'll be fun. Any way it goes, it's always going to be fun.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And all right, we're going to get Shane in here, and then we are heading out. Shane Bilowitz, welcome on board. We are Skeptic Ranting about human evolution theory exposed. Hope you are doing well tonight. And what are your thoughts about the subject and what you got going on?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's nice to be back. So I would say, I guess, right off the bat, creationism, especially young Earth creationism, is inherently dishonest. It relies on sophistry and deliberate misdirection and misrepresentation of data in order to make their point. There's a lot of, in the video, I saw a lot going on where this kind of phrase I came up with where creationists like to make science sound more religious and religion sound more scientific, because they know they're on unequal footing, and they're trying to put them equal and say well, you're just being religious. They always say that, evolution is a religion, and it's a religion being taught in schools. Kent Hovind says that all the time, right? Something I kind of
faith. You guys have a lot of faith.
Yeah, I'm not using my tax dollars to pay for,
Yeah.
So, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, Tony Reid. I don't know if you guys know who Tony Reid is, but he has a YouTube channel. His name
Need
Tony
to grill
Reid.
him?
Sorry?
Is he an atheist theist?
He's an atheist.
Oh, okay.
He's an atheist, and he has a YouTube channel and a series called How Creationism Taught Me Real Science. And it's kind of like a trick title, because it's like he'll take a creationist claim and he'll be like, "That's how creationism taught me the real science." Oh, sorry, but it's kind of to lure creationists in. But he has a fantastic series. There's probably over 100 different things, and it's pretty much every single specific creationist claim you ever heard, and he'll take it apart and analyze it and be very thorough.
Tony Reid, or
it's REED, REED.
REED. Okay.
Yeah.
It's Tony Reid. So I'd say, I don't know, I that was a big part of me deconstructing and coming out of Christianity was his videos. Also the Flood series with Arn Ra, or how
That's a great series right there.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that the flood is just demonstrably false.
That's one of his
biology,
best
meteorology,
put together.
Astronomy,
Anthropology,
physics,
geology,
chemistry,
meteorology, mythology,
linguistics. Even
archaeology.
he doesn't have a thing about linguistics, but what we know about linguistics is I mean, spoken language is about 150 years old, or 150,000 years old.
Yeah.
And what we know about how languages evolve.
It sure doesn't look like everybody spoke the same language 4,400 years ago after the flood, right?
No, I mean that's like everything we know about historical linguistics or even modern linguistics and how languages evolve now.
As he said today in the thing, like, oh, Noah's one grandkid moved here and his other grandson moved here, then we would see the same root of all languages because they would all be the same, but yet we get languages that are nothing like each other, like the Far Eastern languages and like the Native American languages.
And all those, the
Babel
migration
after
has
the
been
flood?
documented. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Was the Tower of Babel after the flood? Because I think I've heard that it was after the flood. That God
Here's the thing, according to the chronology, the Tower of Babel was only like 100 years after the flood.
Yeah.
So it's like 8 people in 100 years.
That's a bigger problem I have. Yeah. Enough people.
Like all of a sudden, there's a civilization that can build a tower of thousands of people
and
in 100 years.
And also in Egypt, they're building pyramids in Babylon, they're building this tower. In Egypt, they're building pyramids. The Native Americans are building their pyramids on the other side of the world, all within 100 to 200 years after they all got off a boat. It doesn't make any sense.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Right. So something I was talking with Shane the Skeptic telepathically, because as Shanes, we all have a hive mind that we just
I knew
connect. But I don't have any experience debating, at least not online or formally or anything. In Discord sometimes, but he's done some of that stuff, and running the clock is definitely a strategy that he has noticed that people do, because they'll gish gallop and then they'll run the clock, and so that way you don't have time to respond to everything, and it makes you look like you are losing or don't have a response, and you didn't have time to say things, and especially when you were talking about the debate with AJ, with Ken Hovind, with if you're throwing out like homophobic things, then you have to take 5 minutes of your response time to address the homophobic or content or whatever else is said, and then you're not talking about and you end up losing the debate or appearing less. I mean, it's just
it's a tactic.
The implication that Ken's trying to do is say, look, AJ sometimes likes to have sex with other guys. That's the only reason he doesn't agree with the Bible, because the Bible says that's naughty.
No,
so that's the only reason.
They'll do that all the time, where they'll throw in a little jab about trans people, and
no doubt.
See if you take the bait, and then suddenly you've spent 10 minutes addressing trans issues when the debate was about evolution.
You just want to sin, so you.
No, they don't want you to respond because they know their arguments don't hold up.
I mean, that's what I felt like was going on with some of the theists earlier on in the episode. Is like I am trying to pull teeth, trying to get theological answers out of them, and they're like, "But what about menstruation and your genitals?
Men having babies?"
And you're like, tell me about how God made all the animals. And they're like, well, it's just magic, and he did. This particular blood clotting sequence doesn't actually, and you're like, come on. I don't know. But one thing I always thought of, this isn't something I came up with. I've heard other people say this before, but oil companies rely on deep time and evolution and things. So if young Earth creationism was true, oil companies would be, they would be using that frame, that model. The reason why they don't use it is because it's not true. Otherwise, because it's all about
I don't think it's only that, Shay. I think it's also that it has no explanatory power. So how would you actually put a creationist model into practice to find something like oil? Would you just pray for where the oil is, and
right.
What kind of results would
that's like
that give you?
David McQueen, professor who SFT called Professor McQueen, and he says that there would be human blood in oil because, of course, all the oil formed after the flood when everybody drowned, humans, dinosaurs, so there'd be human blood mixed in with it. And
yes, man.
He just got excluded from a doctorate program because they don't like Jesus. So.
And so, Shane, do you have any last statements? If not,
oh sure.
Or if so,
yeah. Basically, creationism ultimately boils down to a conspiracy theory that
yes, it does.
That everybody, these evolutionists, are just teaching this because they want to, make money, or a lot of times it'll be, because they're actually working for the devil and they're leading themselves away from God or something. So it all has to rely on the entire academic system throughout the whole world,
suppressing evidence,
all science,
manipulating data,
all of modern industries and everything, to be in on this grand conspiracy to lure people away from God and everything. It's just
they're hiding giant.
That means some Christians are in on the conspiracy as well, because over half of Christians believe in evolution. For most denominations, there are denominations where a lower percentage are there, but generally about half of Christians
there
believe
are a lot of them.
Right.
Look, you start thinking that the Earth is getting warmer. You're going to start believing we evolved. You're going to start thinking that the Big Bang is as far back as we can look in the universe. I mean, you're going to start thinking these really evil things that lead you away from Jesus.
Well, you saw that little cartoon, that was like the guy was writing on the chalkboard that's like, there is no God, evolution is real, and then all of a sudden he's like shooting up a school and everyone's like, I wonder why, it's because there's no Jesus.
Well, but at the end of the day, evolution doesn't disprove a God. As I said, there's many Christians that still believe in evolution. So they sort of treat it like, well, it's this magic bullet which kills my faith and kills, my religion. And it's like, well, no, it doesn't. There's plenty of other Christians that, but we've got this fundamental thing that science has found, and it's like, it's not a defeater for any kind of theism. It's crazy.
And I will say, on that note, I'm just going to quickly shill, and then we are actually heading out.
Yeah. Sorry, Shane, I jumped in there.
No. Actually, Mark, you just gave me a great transition. Because I just want to say, that's right, a transitional fossil. We're trying to get these two gentlemen.
Come on now.
Excuse me, I am not a monkey. Okay. We are trying to get these two gentlemen, and I thought I had his. That's still a tiny URL. So I tiny URL'd it for you. You trying to get Mark Reid his 100, and then. We have Shane Bilowitz down there. Both of these gentlemen are trying to get, and I'll get both of those even more tiny URL better.
Subscribe, Mark Reid, Shane Bilowitz.
But
subscribe to their channel.
Mark is only 11, something like that.
Something like that.
Away. They're close to getting their titles. Let's get Shane. Let's get Mark those fancy titles.
I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Thank you so much, though. I really appreciate everybody helping me out. I really do.
We'll see you on Tuesday.
But with that, James, do you have anything else? If not, I am going to actually say that I hope you all had a good time on this episode.
We are winning, Ian.
Skeptic
Thank you.
and Ranting. Yes. Oh, as James was saying, the pews are emptying.
The pews are emptying. Evolution is still taught in any academic institution worth anything. It'll be the same 100 years from now.
So it seems.
Oh, can I just tack something on at the end?
Okay. Is it going to be like a donkey tale?
Yeah, I mentioned this in the chat, but the census for Australia has just come out, and no religion has jumped about 9% up to 39% of people believe in no religion.
Almost 40%.
Almost 40%.
Winning, baby.
Now, Christianity dropped from 52 down to 43. So basically, there's 40% no religion, 43% Christian. So this trend is that Christianity is absolutely dying in Australia. It is like that over, and the recent one was 2011. So 2011 to 2021 was the census date. Like that shift is just incredible.
Wait, didn't Ralph say they'll outbreed us? Didn't Ralph say?
Apparently so. And that would be true because Christians do have more children, but that isn't the only way that atheists come about. We deconvert people as well.
Yeah, they're
so
abandoning the faith.
Completely irrelevant. But Ralph, I mean, he talks a huge game, but I thought he was boasting about how he was going to do a debate with Amy at one point. I think maybe he pulled out, or he keeps challenging me to debate.
No, we did like a half debate, but now maybe I guess we have to, because he came on the other day and
you were calling me skeptical.
Yeah, and did basically. I'm not convinced in scientism still, but hey, I'm open for more debates.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because that's sort of a huge thing in Australia that religion is dying.
We're winning.
We are winning, yes, and the data shows it. So these theists that come along saying no religion and more scientists are converting to creation, it's total bullshit. It's absolute crap. Creationism is not getting bigger and more scientists going up. No, that's not happening. Sorry, I just thought I wanted to.
That's going to be our final point. I hope you all had a good time on this episode of Skeptic and Ranting. Human evolution theory exposed. Oh my. Where tonight we watched a video called Human Evolution Theory Exposed, Destroying Evolution with their own words. Until you look at the sources, and then it actually seems to prove it. But
he struck out like 10 strikes.
He did. He was playing baseball. Somehow he got to like 10 strikes. Yes. From the channel Young Earth Creation, for some fun worth evolving into, I do want to thank my co-host James W. along with our guests Mark and Shane. Woo! As well as the people in chat. What's up, Godless Girl? All of the people who make this stream, the mods who make this stream so great, and of course, lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Woo! Because then you get to gain access to that bell icon, which when hit to all will send you reminders to join our live streams. Or hey, why not leave a comment once the video's done? After the show, we'll be heading over to the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below, along with our channel members, woo-hoo, which is a way you can help us make even more fun content, though we offer even more perks for our supporters by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I am Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Oh my lordy! Thank you so
Thanks,
very much, Ian, who says, keep it up, $5. Woo! Thank you so much, Ian. We will many more Talk Skeptic to Be episodes, many more Debate Me Bras actually coming up in the future, already planned. In fact, I'll have James moderate, and if anyone wants to debate me, I'll even take it, baby. But we are
Keep it up,
sending
doorknob head.
so much love out there, and once again, y'all, keep being skeptical. Mwah!
Woo-hoo.
And we'll see you all on Discord. Woo!